Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
It's Friday! And we start with this question. Where the hell's G? Good to see you again, buddy. Man, you're losing some weight.
For a moment, I was like, remember that movie, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? G's shrunk down. He's somewhere in that scene. Don't sit on him.
Put the gopher here. G went into a time warp.
Yeah.
He's stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
G. Bush stuck in traffic.
He said he's behind an accident. Now listen, I love G. Bush.
That's shady.
G. Bush is a brother to me. I adore this man. But
yeah.
he hits an accident 2 times a week, minimum. I don't know what roads he's taking.
And usually he still gets here by 10:59.
Yeah, he does. But here's the thing. If you run it that close and you do get behind an accident, you're going to be late.
Right. That's true. That's true.
Welcome to the program. We've got a busy show for you. I think I just saw G pull in, so I think he is here. Yeah, you know what? We posted Bull walking into the studio the other day, and I noticed a lot of people were enamored by the fact that we're in a parking garage.
Yes. I got that question.
Oh, my God.
I'm at
it's
Heinen's.
unbelievable.
It's so funny that you say that because I'm in Heinen's yesterday, and a lot of people in there know me. And the fish guy, he goes, let me ask you a question. Is your studio really in a parking lot?
It's funny. So
I guess it is.
I think what we need to do.
We're going to do an MTV Cribs video.
Yeah.
We already have it planned.
But it has to include the whole facility. Like our office.
No, we're going to start.
I think this. I've worked in local TV for 20 or 19 of my 35 years in the business. This is the palace of local TV studios.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh, there's no question.
This is not only twice as big, it's 17,000 times nicer than my legit TV studio in Texas.
It is. I mean,
legitimately.
it's really nice.
And the MTV Cribs, by the way, we're going to start in our offices upstairs.
Good idea.
There's our new coat hanger right there, my jacket hanging on it.
Yeah.
We're going to show you the exquisite view of Lake Erie and First Energy Stadium we have from upstairs.
Yeah, we have the whole back of our building faces Lake Erie.
Right.
By the way,
you can see the stadium and everything.
I love that we're in this parking lot. Because first of all, I don't have to walk far to the studio. Second of all, the fact that when I was working at radio, I had to pay to park.
And
I don't got to pay here.
You never experience weather.
Yes.
If it's raining, if it's snowing, if it's cold. So the way the setup works is the parking garage is underground.
That's right.
And our studio is the only studio on this floor.
Right.
It is underground. Now, next to us is the laundry facility, the locker rooms, and the weight room.
Where occasionally there's people there that we don't expect to be there, and some of us, Mikey McNuggets, say inappropriate things occasionally.
That's exactly right. Normally, the only ones that are in there, I go every day.
Or what?
I see McNuggets in there from time to time.
I worked out this morning.
Oh, my God, I forgot his name. I feel terrible
Austin
now.
Love.
Austin Love.
Yeah.
Regular.
All the time.
Herbie, our facilities manager.
Yeah.
He was in there this morning.
Every day.
Blasting Sweet Home Alabama.
Those are really the only two that are in there all the time.
Yeah. Now
Austin's in there all the time.
Like Matt Wentz, the weather guy, uses it for the treadmill.
The young lady, you see her in there sometimes.
Yeah, she's one of the news producers upstairs. She likes to, and she's usually using the treadmill right around the time our show ends. And sometimes as our show ends, guys are in such a hurry to use the bathroom, and they're carrying on conversations that they're saying things they shouldn't be saying as they're walking into that.
I would like to formally
weight room.
apologize to the woman on the treadmill the other day from Tuesday's comment.
Yes.
I am very sorry.
It was wildly inappropriate, not meant for anyone's ears but ours.
Yes.
It still doesn't excuse it.
That's true.
So then on the you go up to the first floor, which is actually the ground floor.
Yeah.
And that's where the bulk of our facilities are.
Right.
And it's a
Broadcast-
massive
broadcast
facility.
team.
For the record, Channel 3 is a spaceship of TV stations.
It is. The
spaceship.
only one that I've worked for that was close was the ABC station
There
in
he
Tampa.
is.
He is in the building. I think we need the Elvis theme. Do you remember that?
G-Buddy. G-Buddy.
And every time someone walks in late, we play the Elvis theme.
By the way, the first time I ever came to this building.
No. Breaking news.
Breaking
Sorry, I have
news.
to cut in.
Uh-oh.
G, can you hear me?
No, he doesn't. He's not plugged in yet.
But I can hear you now.
Okay. Rosie B., your wife, is in the YouTube chat. Breaking news from Rosie B., G's wife. Sorry, G's late. It was my fault today. I was cleaning and put his wallet away. He's been looking for it. Didn't notice his call. My bad. So, Rosie, we got
Is
you.
that
Don't
true?
worry.
Are you making that up or is that true?
No, I swear to goodness.
So I usually leave the house. I usually give myself about 20 minutes. Right?
Yeah.
Z.
So I come through, right? I get on the road. As soon as I find my bag, I text her. I said, "What's
G,
my bag
put your
at?"
mic on first. No one can hear you
Nobody
besides
can
us.
hear you.
No, we can, but the people at home can't.
Yeah.
You go, bro.
So, G, were you actually stuck in traffic?
Yeah, I got both of them.
He got the misplaced wallet, my wifey.
I got both of them.
So she hid your bag. She moved it.
She moved my bag, so I get done with my, I do my podcast in the morning, right?
Yeah.
I do my podcast in the morning with Jeff, get done with my podcast. I'm moving around. I'm like, okay, cool. I usually give myself 20 minutes. I'm ready to go. Man, I get to looking around. No keys, no wallet.
It's all in the bag.
It's all in the bag. I'm looking around like, yo, I called her at work. She's like, where my bag at? She was like, oh, my fault. I put it by my purses. I said, you playing around. So I get on the highway over to here. I said, listen, I got time. Man, I get it right out here, moving around on the street. It's a whole tow truck out in front of my doggone apartment.
So you still might have made it.
So I still was on time, ready to make it. Then it was like probably, I want to say about, I usually know I'm in trouble if it get to be about 10:47. Boop. If it's 10:47,
and you're not too.
and I ain't till like back over there by the stadium.
Yeah.
You're in trouble.
Yeah.
I took some McNuggets. I was like, yeah, this not gonna work today.
Where was you at, dog, by the stadium?
Huh?
Where's the cutoff point?
The cutoff is if I'm not by the stadium, if I'm not coming
On
by
two.
on two, there's a right. I think it's called a 9.
Because there's a landmark. You're like, you don't hit this
Yeah, there
landmark
is.
by.
Yeah, I'm not there by a certain time. I'm late.
Whew.
Now, you know that some of those lights can be wanky, too.
Ooh.
Like, sometimes you sit there for 20 seconds. Sometimes you sit there for 4 minutes.
And I wasn't gonna see, because here's the thing, I wasn't gonna text until I knew, because I'm like, I got a streak. I was like, bro, I could whip it. I know where the lights is. I still might come in on time. Man, I got around here. I got around after we got out. The tow truck was there. This lady was looking hecka frustrated. I'm like, listen, lady, that's nice, but you gonna get your minivan up out the road, bro. And then it was 2 Samaritans that was trying to be nice to her.
2 good Samaritans.
And I'm like, bro,
I gotta go.
I gotta move. I know y'all wanna. I know.
You should have.
Z, were they 2 good Samaritans?
Oh, 2 good Samaritans. The one dude looked like, I'm like, first of all, it's 11. Why are you out and about? It's 11. You have a job. What are you doing? You can't be doing this. Man, I got over here. I said, look, yeah, I'm gonna have to hit McNuggets up. I am nowhere near the landmark. I'm just getting in the trap zone, because you know, right there, over at the shoreline, the trap zones start right when you start to hear Clearwater. You get past Clearwater, they be having them little police officers right here in front. I don't know why it's 35.
That speed limit there is absurd.
That's
Yeah,
speed trap.
it is
Yeah.
nuts.
Why is it 35?
Yeah,
It's a
it is
highway.
crazy.
And you know, B-Bull, I've been behind you.
Yeah.
On Clearwater.
Yeah.
So you know me, that's like 90 miles an hour.
I know.
for
I
me.
drive fast on that too.
If Bull was in front of me one day, I was like,
He
oh,
cut me off.
cut him off.
I remember that day. Bull got to work and said, so some jerk cut me off today. And I realized after he cut me off, it was G-Bush.
Hey man, my wife is great, man. She gives me
God.
a note in the chat. Shout out to Rosie B.
That's right.
Yeah, we're going to get to Joe Thomas. We haven't forgotten about him. It was an awesome night last night. I love that the drama ended early. He was the first guy called out. I thought that was fitting, too, by the way. Before we get into all of that, we have something. I'm super excited about this. We're going to do Bulls Bet of the Day, and I think every day.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, explain how this works. What are you going to do?
It's our new sponsor, so let me talk about this. Bet Rivers. So, my podcast, some of you have been asking me about. When I was sick, I didn't do my podcast for 2 weeks, and I had been working on some negotiations at the time, and so even though the T's haven't all been crossed and the I's haven't all been dotted, my podcast is moving, and I appreciate everything that Locked On, which is owned by Tegna, has done for me in the podcast. They were nice enough to allow me to move my podcast to a company called Bet Rivers,
which is like all of these gaming.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can bet with with Bet Rivers, but in addition to being able to bet with Bet Rivers, which you can bet on all sports with Bet Rivers, you can also hear podcasts from different parts of the country. So in New York, they have Mike Francesa, who a lot of people know. He was on with Stephen A. Smith this past week. In Philadelphia, they have Mike Missinelli. They have one in Pittsburgh. They have one in Chicago. They wanted to add a Bet Rivers podcast here. They asked me to do it.
Eventually, they're going to add one in most major sports cities.
Yes, in any major sports city that has legal gambling,
right,
they're going to add it. So we're happy to have. And we came to an agreement where Locked On allowed me, and I really appreciate it, to move to my podcast to Bet Rivers.
Shout out to Bulls lawyers, too. No, the legal team, Bulls legal team, strongest in the game.
The best part of it for us is now they're in our family.
And we're working together because Bet Rivers is going to be a sponsor of our show. Which we love. So we're all working together. It's all love. It's all good. So every day on the show now, I'm going to make Bulls Best Bet, brought to you by Bet Rivers. And we start with it today. You got it, Mikey?
It is. Hey,
Now,
Ohio,
is it a
Bet
one
Rivers
pick?
Online Sportsbook is the place to be for every single game. Steve,
Yeah.
take the graphic, please. Now's the perfect time to join Bet Rivers Sportsbook. When you use deposit code SPORTS, you receive a second chance bet up to $500. Get in on all the action with weekly specials on your favorite sports like basketball and hockey. To help you win big, check out BetRivers.com or download the Bet Rivers app today for the latest lines, odds, and boosts. Steve, throw the graphic back up. That's got to stay on for the entire read.
I love the pictures because it's every emotion you might feel
Yes,
after
that's
making a bet.
Yes, that's right.
And the last one in particular.
Jubilation, anger,
Yeah.
sadness.
Very good.
So here's the best bet for today. Travis Kelce to score the first touchdown of the game, plus 700. Think about this.
Wow.
I would say Kelce is as likely as anybody to
He's
score
the
the first
guy I
touchdown.
would've picked.
Right? Plus, you bet 100, you win 700. It's a great deal. I couldn't
He's a
believe
great
the
deal.
odds were that high.
I am stunned that they're that high.
Yeah.
I thought they'd be 350.
Yeah, right.
Because literally, if I'm listing all the players that I think could score the first touchdown, I'm going with Kelce.
He'd be my first choice. So when I saw that at plus 700, I said, I'm in. Travis Kelce plus 700. Now, the first touch, you never know. If it was any time touchdown, it would have been a lot lower.
Sure.
But because it's the first touchdown, and especially if the Eagles get the ball first, you never know. But I love Travis Kelce plus 700. What do you guys think? You in on
Love
that?
it. I'd be all over that. I love the odds. I love everything about it.
If I was allowed to gamble, I need to do. If I was allowed to see, I'm not allowed to. I got to get a separate account before my wife see everything. As you can see, she's omniscient.
She knows where his wallet is at all
everywhere.
times.
I'm the president.
Listen, she has a beeper on me. I don't know, man. I got a homing device, man. But I
You
would
got
love
an air tag in your car. You just don't know it
I'm
yet.
looking for it. Get one of them wands. Boop, 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 boop. It's right here. I take that 700 because look, Kelce to me, like they like the Mahomes and Kelce like to get going early. They like to, he like to find them, and I think that he probably has the best chance of scoring a touchdown. If I had to pick somebody for Eagles, I would not know at all. I'd pick Jalen Hurts maybe to run, but
How do they make that bet? They download the Bet Rivers mobile app.
You download the Bet Rivers app. It's very simple. Just get on the app today. That's it. I mean,
Awesome.
It's really
That's great.
simple. It's really easy to use.
Is there a code that they use for Bulls Bet of the Day, or how does that work?
You know what?
There's no code yet.
No code yet.
Okay.
We will have one eventually.
We'll work on it.
Good.
The podcast, I don't have an official rebirth date. It's still going to be called The Bullpen. I think we're coming back on February 27th, but like I said, I got to cross some T's and dot some I's.
They're gonna say they're gonna set Bull up. I got a special line for you. 1-800-BEST-BETS. Get in now. I give you all the picks, all of them.
Guaranteed winner.
I'm
I love those guaranteed.
Yes, guaranteed.
7-1.
I love when the guys say that. No, we're not giving you guaranteed
There's
winners.
no such thing as guarantees.
Right.
No
No
such
Stop
thing.
that.
No.
Stop
But
If you
that.
have
Bet
a
Rivers
gambling
is
problem,
awesome.
Please call 1-800-PETTY-LEBULL. Just throwing it out there. And we got Adam Richman at 11:30, Mandy Bell at 12,
wait.
Super Bowl picks, Cavs, which means we got to get to Joe Thomas because we can't cut the man who gave me the nickname McNuggets short.
That's true.
So,
Yeah, that's right.
Bulls best bet. Thanks, Bet River. Bet Jack's still with us. We'll get to them in a little bit. But we got to get to Joe Thomas.
Yeah.
Do not want to cut my man short.
Absolutely.
You were saying, Jay, what a night last night.
It was a great night. I loved it. Like I said, that he was the first one announced. I was absolutely convinced he was in. Anybody that watched his career as we did knew he was in. His footwork, he wasn't, the biggest and the strongest, but he was the best. His footwork. It was so rare when he got beat, it became a highlight.
Yeah.
Like I remember ESPN one time was so shocked when he did get blown off on a snap that they actually included that in their highlight reel because they said this is something you don't see every day, and it wasn't. And congratulations to Joe. I was kind of surprised he was there. I thought in typical Joe Thomas fashion, they would say Joe couldn't be with us tonight because he's fishing on a lake in Wisconsin with Pops, because that's what he did when he was drafted number 1 overall. Your guys' thoughts on Joe, his career, and where he ranks Because I think this is the question. He's a first-timer. I think he's the only left tackle ever to get in on the first ballot. Am I wrong on that?
He was the seventh, I believe, seventh. The Browns tweeted this out yesterday. And let me read it.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah,
Joe Thomas is the seventh first ballot tackle to be seventh. Joins Jackie Slater, Jim Parker, Forrest Gregg, Walter Jones, Anthony Munoz, and Jonathan Ogden.
Yeah, I mean, that is
a who's who
that
great.
is
of elite.
the Mount Rushmore of
great left tackles.
How was Jonathan Ogden not a one or Orlando Pace?
Yeah,
That's
Orlando
crazy.
Pace was a first ballot Hall of
It
Famer.
has to be. What?
That is from Dan Murphy, Browns PR guy.
Dan's pretty reliable.
Okay.
He's very reliable.
Hey.
My recollection is was the first was in on his first ballot.
I'll
See
double
if you
check
can
that
find
right
out
now.
when he got in. 'Cause that's a
I'll
good
look that up.
point.
Guys, I got to say, obviously you know Joe Thomas personally. I've met Joe a little bit, but I don't know him personally as well as you do. But not only was Joe a consummate professional, consummate Hall of Famer, but he's a Hall of Fame person as well. Great guy, treated everybody nicely. Like whenever you met Joe, it wasn't like, oh, I'm talking to some big shot here.
Right.
He made you feel comfortable. Like when I first came to Cleveland and we would interview Joe Thomas, I'm like, oh my God, it's Joe Thomas. Like, he's a legend.
Well, he didn't know McNuggets from a hole in the wall.
Right.
Look how he treated McNuggets first time he was on the
He
program.
makes you feel comfortable. He was so down to earth. He was a great teammate. You never find. You heard what DeQuell Jackson said about him with us. You've heard Joe Batonio talk about him. Every player that played with Joe Thomas loved Joe. I never heard of anybody say a bad word about Joe Thomas. He's a family man. He stayed, even like some people criticized him, not here, that he didn't want to get traded and go play. He loved being a Cleveland Brown.
Do we
and that
all
means
know
something.
I'm assuming we all know it, but maybe not, the infamous story, the
With the
famous
Broncos.
story about Peyton Manning's phone call to him?
Yes.
Yeah.
To me, to sum him up, his play speaks for itself. Put in the tape. I mean, that speaks for itself.
Yeah.
I loved him from jump because he didn't go to the draft, and he passed on the glitz and the glamour because he wanted to spend the most important day of his life to that point with his dad doing what he loves to do more than anything, fishing. Mm-hmm. And when I heard that story, I spent countless hours fishing with my father on Lake Erie. When I heard that story, I immediately felt like I knew Joe Thomas. I felt like he didn't care about the limelight. He didn't care about the New York and the big day and what suit am I going to overspend for that I'll wear once. He didn't care about any of that nonsense. He said, this is going to be a momentous occasion in my life. How do I want to spend it?
Yeah.
Not how do those around me want me to spend it. And he did it that way. And the other story, which I guess we've all heard, I'll share it for the audience for the sake of those that haven't heard it. He had many opportunities. He could have left Cleveland on multiple different occasions. One in particular was the Denver Broncos had worked a trade with the Cleveland Browns for Joe Thomas. Peyton Manning was in Denver. They knew that this was a Super Bowl caliber team.
Yep.
What do you need for Peyton Manning to make sure you win the Super Bowl?
That's
A
right.
left tackle that you can count on that will his bodyguard. They worked the deal. Joe listened to the trade and said, no, I think I'm good. I want to stay with my teammates.
Yeah.
I want to stay with the city and the team that gave me my opportunity. And then Peyton Manning called. And Peyton said, putting on the pressure, come to Denver, Joe. You know, no one's going to look badly upon you for doing that. Mm-hmm. You deserve to play in a playoff game. You deserve to make a Super Bowl run.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, that Broncos team ended up winning the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And Joe probably in his heart of hearts knew that he could have gone there and won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But he passed on all of that to stay here. Mm-hmm. And that's why forever and always he will be one of my favorite professional athletes, any sport.
By the way, before you do that, Brad, Orlando Pace actually had to wait 3 years before he got in.
I can't believe that.
Joe Thomas is, and they got him ranked. They got like a legend score.
Orlando was the #1 overall pick, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
But they got him, and Jonathan Ogden was not what's the name either, first ballot. So.
Oh, I thought you'd read Jonathan Ogden as one of the guys that was a
he
first ballot.
That was according to Dan Murphy's email.
Nope. Facts. So he up there. He up
So
top.
when did Ogden get in? How many years?
Ooh, I could look that up. Go ahead, Brad.
Well, no, I was just going to say that, it reminded me when you're talking about Joe Thomas, you have to give him extra kudos for staying around Cleveland, right? He didn't have to be. And then when you talked about not going to the draft, I know what that felt like because I did not go myself, right?
Really?
Top 9 picks. I did not go. I did not go to New York.
What was your reasoning for not wanting to go?
My reasoning was this. It's funny. If you look back in the '86 draft, 2 people that did not go, Ron Harper and myself. And so Ron and I were friends.
Sure.
And so we represented by the same people, and we had the same inkling. I was not going to New York because I wanted my family and friends who had seen me along the journey, because you couldn't take everybody with you.
Sure.
Right.
You wanted to spend it with the people that mattered most to you.
I spent it right in.
I think that speaks so loudly for you.
I spent it right in Warrensville in my mother's basement,
Wow.
and with all my family and friends. We were watching on the console TV, not no flat screen.
Yeah, the
right?
old big, the floor monitor.
The floor model.
Yeah.
With the turn dial.
It was like a piece of furniture with a TV in
They
there.
had the one dial for the UHF channels and one for the VHF channels.
Did you have any regrets at any point, like during the draft? Did you
not
think,
going
wow,
back?
it would be fun to be there?
No.
Never. You were where you were supposed
I
to
was
be.
where I was supposed to be, right? I was where I was supposed to be. And
Kudos to you.
The funny thing about it, I get picked by the Bulls, the Chicago Bulls at number 9. The Pistons had the 11 or 11 pick, and they thought I was going to the Pistons because the Pistons had announced they were going to take me. So I had 2 TV stations with the satellite trucks in front of my mother's house in Warrensville, ready to broadcast from Detroit.
That's funny.
Oh yes.
Surprises happen on
But
draft
so
day.
when Joe talked about he wouldn't spend time with us, I get it. You got to go over there and do that thing over there. That
I
thing
think that's commendable. And the other thing too, and I don't want to turn this into a bash LeBron session, but as I think 2 of the most accomplished athletes to come through Cleveland in the last perhaps 50 years.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say ever because that would include Jim Brown's era, but I would say in the last 50 years, they are Joe Thomas and LeBron James.
Yeah, there's no question.
And if you look at the decisions they made from a career standpoint, Joe was not from Cleveland, but made the decision at great sacrifice to stay here because he felt he owed something to the people of Cleveland, where LeBron was from Northeast Ohio, from Akron, and twice left.
Yeah. The only beef I have with Joe Thomas is it's really obnoxious how thin he is now.
He's got it all now.
I mean, it's just really
he's got looks, he's got fitness.
I know.
He's
He's
got
great
a
on
gold
TV.
jacket.
He's great on TV. He has a good sense of humor. He's not afraid to self-deprecate.
Yeah.
And
he says things too.
Yeah.
Which I love. A lot of the guys that are in his position
are scared
feel like
to be
they
overly
don't
critical.
need the job, they don't need the money, they're going to just kind of sugarcoat stuff. I remember a couple of occasions. One was the Jeff Saturday incident where he came out swinging against a fellow offensive lineman.
Right.
And they tend to stick together, and he just came out and said, this is nonsense.
Well,
this
Joe
guy doesn't deserve to be the coach.
I think it's clear, anybody that knows Joe at all, and there's Bernie in the background, that Joe doesn't do anything halfway, right? He goes, I don't know that Joe, obviously Joe it would be stupid to say he's not physically gifted. He's incredibly physically gifted.
Absolutely.
But I don't know that he's the most physically gifted player of all time.
But he got the most out of his
But he
gifts.
got the most because nobody outworked him.
Yeah.
Nobody outstudied him. He holds the Browns record for most consecutive snaps, right? He
10,000
played till he couldn't
No, not
play.
the Browns record, the NFL record.
The NFL record, sorry.
Yeah, 10,363.
His career was remarkable. In a sea of garbage that he had to play with, he played with very few good teammates. He had DeQuell, who was a really good teammate. He had Joe Hayden. There were a couple other guys along the way, but he didn't get to play with a lot of good players. He didn't get to play with a single good quarterback. It's
he
a
tells
shame.
the story where he had to introduce himself to one of the quarterbacks
There's
in
the
the
list.
huddle of a game.
Do you want me to
Look
read
at
these
that.
names for you
Yeah,
guys?
look at that.
The
I think it was
quarterbacks that Joe Thomas blocked for in his career. And there's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Charlie Fry, Derek Anderson, Ken Dorsey, Brady Quinn, Bruce Gurkowski, Colt McCoy, Jake Delhomme, Seneca Wallace, Brandon Whedon, Thaddeus Lewis, Jason Campbell, Brian Hoyer, Johnny Manziel, Connor Shaw, Josh McCown, Austin.
I mean, that you can't have a worse list than that.
Hold that.
It's impossible.
Keep that list up because the ironic and funny thing about this is that at some point along the way, we believed that each and every one that was going to deliver us.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well,
Some of them definitely.
Seneca Wallace,
The Browns-
Colt McCoy,
Yeah, no, there were 4
Brady
or 5 of them.
Quinn,
Oh, no, they're about 6.
But,
I'm giving
but
you
I'll tell you
6.
this. When,
Manziel.
even on his draft announcement, when
Yeah.
he came in for the eventual news conference, he was the number 3 overall pick. He was overshadowed by Brady Quinn. Remember, the Browns worked that deal to get Brady to move up again in the first round and take Brady Quinn. And Brady's kind of stole the spotlight. Everybody wanted to know about Brady Quinn, the Notre Dame quarterback.
I mean, who is the best quarterback on that list?
Brady Quinn was
Derek
hot
Anderson had the best year.
Yeah.
By the way,
I would actually argue Jason Campbell might be the best quarterback career-wise, which is sad because he's not very good. Or Josh McCown, maybe.
Did Joe Thomas ever catch a touchdown pass?
I don't think so, but I don't remember.
Y'all tried that. Can I get that list again? We're going to go up there. The funny thing about Brad, y'all tried to dismiss that.
What?
Oh, no, y'all thought a lot of these dudes was good.
We didn't think Ken Dorsey was the savior. Charlie Fry.
Derek Anderson, they knew it.
Keep coming.
Wait,
Come on,
not
G.
Fry.
Come on, G. No. Come on, G.
Hold on.
Come
No
on, G.
filibustering. There's Derek Anderson.
Yes.
Brady Quinn.
Yes.
Colt McCoy.
Yes.
Who else?
Not the next guys.
Seneca Wallace.
No.
People
Nobody
like
thought Seneca
Seneca.
No, nobody likes Seneca.
Yes, they did.
And the
Yes,
black
they
community-
did.
black
Yes,
community-
they did.
We took Seneca
Okay,
Wallace.
Yes, they
but
did.
that's what 20% of the population here. That's not. I knew what Seneca
Brandon
Wallace
Weed.
was when I saw him throw
Brandon
5
Weed.
passes.
Brandon Wheaton. I thought Brandon
Yeah,
Wheaton.
keep coming
Hey,
back.
Brandon Wheaton, yes.
I thought
Brandon Wheaton.
No, he was 28 when they drafted
I
him.
still thought he was going to be good.
Come
I
on,
did.
bring that list back up. Bring that list back up.
Brian Hoyer, yes.
Bring that list
It's
back
about
up.
10
My
of them.
man Dustin Fox wanted to give him a contract extension.
Hoyer,
Manziel.
That's
Manziel,
6.
Josh
That's it.
McCown.
No, Josh McCown was
That's
old.
6. Hell, that's a third of the list.
You know what the beautiful part about this? We still got, what's the dude that came from Notre Dame? I thought he was going to be something.
Oh,
Kaiser.
Deshaun
I don't
Kaiser.
know that he ever.
He's a
he-
tool.
Yeah, but he never blocked. He never played with Kaiser.
Look. You talking about drinking the Kool-Aid.
How is
Deshaun Kaiser's
Kaiser's
not on
name
that
not
list.
on that list?
That's wrong. That list is wrong.
Reflog.
Yeah.
Because he blocked for Deshaun Kaiser.
He did block for Deshaun
Joe
Kaiser.
Thomas blocked for Deshaun
Yeah.
Kaiser?
Yes, he
Listen,
did.
And RG3, didn't he?
here's the thing.
I think you're right.
Here's the thing. Yes, there's more. There's more.
Let's
quarterbacks
double check
that are
that list.
missing.
I think it's more.
Here's the
Oh,
thing.
you know what? It's a 2-tweet list. There wasn't enough time.
Bad job by
Wasn't
you.
enough character.
Show us
No,
the other
bad
rest of
job
the
by
list.
Tag Board for not letting us put 2 in.
Okay.
Can we see the second
Can we
list?
see that second
Yeah,
list?
give us a second. We just got
I
to
knew it's 2 more on there.
It's a
It's
couple
probably
more
like 8
people
more.
that we was amped up about.
And not one of them is any good.
Trent Dilfer.
Okay.
Okay, here.
Yeah, that,
It gets cut off.
Right.
The 3 names that are the names that are cut off that list that you couldn't see because take it again, full Steve.
Kaiser,
Drop
Dilfer, and
the-
RG3.
Drop the topic bar, please.
okay, boom.
You still can't see it.
No.
Drop the logo. You still can't see it because Tag Board sucks. But the names this cuts off at Austin Davis. He also blocked for Robert Griffin III,
Yeah.
Cody Kessler, Deshaun Kaiser, and Kevin Hogan.
Okay, who all suck too.
There was one other one. RG3.
Yeah,
said
it's
who-
on there.
Yeah, he
Look
said
at that.
Who was the other one? Because we had named 3 that he hadn't. Deshaun
I just named
Kaiser,
4 that- I just named 4.
RG3. Trent
You said-
Dilfer.
Did he get Dilfer? He had to be in there before Charlie Fry.
Maybe that was the year before Joe Thomas.
I don't know. What year did Dilfer play for the Browns?
I'm
Maybe
on
it was 06.
It might have been the year before.
Brown. He played for the Browns in 05.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our bad then.
But still, that's like, 15, 20 guys?
Yeah.
Not one of them was any good, career-wise.
You couldn't find one.
Now, Derek Anderson did have a good year here.
He did.
That 1 year was sensational, but it was 1
And
year.
everybody was drinking the Kool-Aid.
Now, I will say what's most
I was.
impressive.
Yeah.
They have Joe. I guess this is. I don't know if this is affiliated with Hall of Fame future football legends. They have Joe Thomas rated as the 58th best player of all time.
Wow.
Now, and by the way, Jonathan Ogden was a first round.
Yes, he was a first ballot guy.
Yeah.
However, they have him rated 3 spots ahead of Ogden. He was 61.
Yeah.
Walter Jones is a tackle, and he's at 50.
Munoz has to be higher,
Yeah,
right?
Munoz
Anthony
probably is the
Munoz.
highest. I would say
Yeah.
he's the highest.
Yeah, Anthony Munoz. Let's see where. Anthony,
I mean, he's widely regarded as the
As
best,
the best
ever.
tackle.
Oh, they have. He got indoctrinated in '98. They have him rated 77.
Oh,
Wow.
Munoz is below.
Munoz?
Munoz.
Is there an offensive lineman higher on this list? Who did this list?
Future football legends. I don't know if they're affiliated with the Hall of Fame, but
That
if you go
sounds like
there,
a shady list to me.
I've never heard of them.
it might be. Look, but I will say this.
Yeah.
Joe Thomas looks like, because I thought Orlando Pace was first ballot. He wasn't.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to hit on the Hall of Fame guys real quick. Two other players. Joe Klecc, I was surprised it took him this long to get in. He was a great player for the New York Sack Exchange back in the day.
He and Gaston.
And Ken Riley, when I was a young boy, Ken Riley was one of my favorite players. And what a shame. The guy was on the ballot for 5th all time in interceptions.
Yep.
35 years on the ballot. He just died like 2 years ago, and now he gets in.
That's
and I hope
crazy.
the same thing
Disgrace.
doesn't happen with Clay Matthews.
It better not happen to Clay
That would
Matthews,
suck. There's no
because-
reason. If Ken Riley's been a Hall of Famer, there's no reason it should have taken 35 years for him
Now
to get in.
this too. He played in an era when interceptions were a thing. Like if you go back and you look
true,
at Terry
but still fifth
Bradshaw's
all
numbers,
time.
quarterbacks threw so many
Agreed,
more.
Jay, but he's still fifth all time.
I was going to say that. I was
Yeah.
going to set that up by saying, yes, when you look at his interception total and you look at them compared to today's standards,
Right,
they're eye-popping.
Right.
But even in his day, he was a ball hawk.
Yes, no doubt.
And another guy that was Tom Darden, who played here.
Yeah.
Tom Darden
Yeah,
was
yeah.
in that same sort of era.
Yeah.
And Tom Darden used to get 5, 6, 7 interceptions a year like nothing. And now I think we
It's
figured
weird.
out the guy that with the leading I think somebody led the NFL this year with 4 or 5 interceptions.
Right. I think it was 4.
I mean,
It's nuts.
The NFL, I will say this: the NFL, it's hard getting in there, bro.
It is real
When I
hard.
looked at the finalists, now they got DeMarcus Ware in here, right?
Yeah.
But they skipped over Jared Allen. Jared Allen from Kansas City and Minnesota Vikings is a monster. Mind you, he got in, DeMarcus Ware got over Dwight Freeney.
Ooh.
DeMarcus Ware was a hell of a
I mean, he was a hell of a
and played
player.
on some great
Dwight
teams,
Freeney will
and that
get it
helped.
eventually. Dwight
Zach
Freeney.
Thomas got in over Patrick Willis. Now, for me,
Zach Thomas has been waiting a while.
he's been waiting.
I was surprised how
Bernie played with Zach Thomas.
he did. I
Yeah.
was surprised though how much the game is taken away from him today. Zach Thomas walked out there, he looked like a statue.
Hey,
I mean, he was in pain.
this Zach Thomas was the
an
last.
Adonis.
He was the last of. He played with Zach Thomas was undersized. Zach Thomas wasn't huge
For his position, he was, for sure.
and he was stumping.
But
for
did you notice
years.
how he moved last night when he came out on the stage?
All of them did.
All of them did.
All of them.
And by the way, did you see Jim Brown?
Oh,
in the,
yeah. Jim is.
Jim did not. I interviewed him 2 years ago, a lengthy, probably hour and a half sit-down interview, spent a lot of time with him. He was still very, very sharp mentally. He looked good. Now, obviously, he's in his 80s, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and he, I know he only played 9 seasons, but man, did he run to contact, and he had a lot of collisions. But I thought to myself, and I even said as he was walking into the room to sit down with me, I even said, "You still move really well." And he said, "For my age and what I've been through, I do." But when they showed him last night, I thought, he doesn't.
Jim Brown will turn 87 a week from today.
Here's how I knew it was. It reminded me because I saw something. There was a picture that I think my grandmother and my aunt used to have. She used to have a picture with Bill Cosby, Muhammad Ali. It was Jim Brown and Bill Russell, right?
Wow.
And so she has this picture, and the crazy thing I saw is, there was like an E extra or something. Bill Cosby's completely blind, like he can't see.
Right.
Muhammad Ali, obviously, he with his disease.
Yeah.
The one that looks, Bill Russell is deceased, and Jim Brown is in that picture. So I mean, I was surprised because I had just saw him a couple years ago, and I don't think it was a Ring of Honor or something.
He was here for something.
So it was a Ring of Honor.
And that was when I interviewed him, when he was here. We sat down and had a long interview, and it was great. And by the way, I think finally the NFL got it right. They renamed the award for the NFL's rushing leader, the Jim Brown Award.
Yeah.
What the hell took that so long? Who knows?
We got Adam Richman.
Oh, my stomach. Our producer got my ear and said, Adam Richman's on. He's
My
ready to
fellow
go.
Jew from
Man.
Yeah, baby.
You don't understand how many reruns.
Oh my God.
Of your joint that I
Wait a
watch.
second. Let me tell Adam.
Repeat.
Adam, first of all, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show. My name
Thank
is
you,
Adam
sir.
as well. I'm also a Jew from Brooklyn as well. Wait, you went
Nice.
to Midwood, right?
I did. Where'd you go?
Sheepshead Bay.
Nice. That's where I grew up on Homecrest between T and U, so I wasn't far from you.
Yeah, I grew up on Ocean between W and X, and then I moved to Manhattan Beach with all the hoity-toity people out there eventually. But I got to tell
W
you,
and X.
when I am such a big fan, when
Thank you.
did Man versus Food, I am the biggest geek. I kept a spreadsheet of every city you'd go to, the challenge you did, and whether you won or lost the challenge. That's how much of a dork and a fan I was for that show.
No,
Nice. Thank
kinda
you. That
cre-
means
that's
a
kinda
lot.
If he was a woman, you'd be in jail.
I
Yeah,
would.
that is true. Adam, please don't judge me and our friendship based on the company I keep on this program. Okay?
Never.
I love you. I
Love
ain't writing
forever,
nothing down.
Jay.
Adam, it's been way
Way
too
too long, bro.
How in the hell are you? You look great,
So
by the
good
way.
to see your face. Oh, thank you. I'm trying. I have like the Raleigh fingers kind of like Goose Gossage thing.
I'm
happening
digging it,
back
though.
here.
I'm digging
so
it.
I'm trying to like keep it a little corralled. But no, things are good. I'm on History Channel now, and really, really blessed and glad to be on the other side of the pandemic.
We got a million things to get into. We really do, because I know you're a huge sports fan, and I can tell by the room you're in.
Yes,
tell
sir.
us about your new show, because, by the way, pretty soon Guinness Book is going to call you and say, congratulations, Adam, you've broken the record for hosting the most shows. I think this is like your 50th show.
It's amazing.
I'm honored. It's like a dubious distinction, right? Would you rather have one show that's on for 50 years?
No,
or
because you
50
get to
shows?
reinvent yourself this way.
Yeah.
Exactly. I can't wait to be the ugliest contestant ever on Drag Race. I think like my drag name will probably be like Beef Stroganoff or something terrible like that. But there goes my career. Anyway, one joke, just sabotage the whole thing. So the shows that I'm doing, I have the one that started Monday was with Peyton Manning. It's called The Greatest of All Time, where we rank what's the GOAT of stadiums, what's the GOAT of inventions, what's the GOAT of candy, sports cars, and so on.
That's dope.
That's awesome.
Then there's Food That Built America Season 4, which is about like the histories of the iconic food brands or the battles between them, like General Mills versus Kellogg's, Chick-fil-A and Popeyes, the chicken sandwich wars that happened. We also get into sporting goods this season, Rawlings, Wilson's, Spalding. We get into dog food, cat food. And then I have a show called Rebels That Built America about the sort of ones that bucked the system and had success. So everyone from Evel Knievel, Johnny Knoxville, to Rush Limbaugh, Howard Stern, Richard Pryor, George Carlin.
Oh, my God.
So that's coming out. We just did Toys That Built America. And, just been doing that and been blessed to join the Complex family and do a podcast with them called The Meals That Made Me. So, just staying busy and making sure I keep making my mom proud of me, I guess.
I love it. I know she is. I've got a million questions based on what you just said, but do we have a clip, right?
We got a clip.
Okay, we're gonna.
bomb.
Do you know what the clip is, Adam, or will it speak for itself?
Let it speak for itself, and I'll speak for it if it can't.
All right, go. Let's roll it. Let's see it.
Kellogg's not only became the first word and first name in terms of the American breakfast table, they redefined breakfast in America and maybe the world as we know it. People still in the 21st century are talking about 2 scoops of raisins, snap, crackle, and pop. Lego my ego.
The Food That Built America. New season, Sunday, February 19th at 9. Only on the History Channel.
That is all so true.
You gonna shut a lot of stuff down with that right there, man. I'm a documentary joint. Plus, I'm a former fat kid rehabilitating. So we put a lot of money in that Kellogg's pot, right?
Absolutely. And I was just talking about this with someone. The craziest thing is a lot of these cereals are around, but the way that they're advertised, the way that they're marketed has changed forever. You know, when were parents in the 50s thinking about gluten or allergens or soy?
Right.
When were they Reagan said in the 80s you could advertise directly to children, and then you started seeing tie-ins with video games. You started seeing Donkey Kong cereal. You started seeing Nintendo cereal. Nerds even made a cereal. So you start Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves cereal. And I think that you started seeing that synergy, and then it changed again. And now you have a really educated eater, and you have Jews from Brooklyn named Adam that are eating sriracha and eating, drinking micheladas and having stuff that has nothing to do with our culture, and it's now ubiquitous. So it's this really cool trade-off. Besides, like places like LA where they're so like deathly afraid of gluten that Ryan Reynolds says you could like hold up a liquor store with a bagel. Like, who's eating cereal? Is anyone in California even eating cereal?
Oh my God.
Yeah, they don't know what that is, Adam.
Hey Adam, I got to ask you, when you do, especially with Man versus Food, did you ever go to places like you went to your 3 places in each city? I remember here you went to Melt, you went to the West Side Market to the gyro place, and then you went to Hot Sauce Williams, and then
Creepy.
Listen, it's our city. I got to remember.
No, it is. And I remember I used to live there. Don't forget. I used to live at Shaker and 128.
That's
right.
why
The only way I got through that challenge
right
at
down
Mel-
the street for hot sauce.
That's right. That's how I knew it. So I was working at the Cleveland Playhouse.
Right.
And I had driven past White Sauce Williams, and that year the Indians were in the pennant. And I remember you could still see games at the Jake on the Jumbotron for free. You could go and get a ticket, and even though you were still ultimately watching a game on TV, you could watch it from the Jake. And that was always like so cool. And then on the way back down Carnegie, you'd pass Hot Sauce Williams.
Right.
And the smell was amazing. I'm never going to go. Like I still love going to the Inn on Coventry. In fact, when I got Man vs. Food, they wanted to see some entries from the Food Journal that I spoke about in the beginning of Man vs. Food. The entry I sent them was from the Inn on Coventry in Cleveland about the lemon ricotta pancakes and the eggs mondo.
Wow.
And
A little
that's
bit of
why
history.
it is. There's a chapter on Cleveland, the first book I wrote, because that city was, I met a girl there that we dated for like 10 years. She was at the Cleveland Institute of Music. So I went back quite a bit. So I've been to Nighttown and had gone to places, on the other side of the Cuyahoga, and gone to Parma and had pierogies there. And I think that's the beautiful thing about that city, that I think people know, this much, and you go there, like Great Lakes Breweries, specifically their Christmas ale is proof God loves us and wants us to be happy. But people don't know, like Elliot Ness shot up the bar at that brewery, and the bullets are still in the bar. The fact that Pat Conroy, it's the truth.
Wow.
Elliot Ness was brought in to solve the Torso murders in Cleveland, and he was frustrated and went to get drunk at what was the Schlafly Brewery back then, shot up the bar, and the bullet holes and the bullets are still in that bar. But also Pat Conroy, the man who runs it, is so proudly Cleveland and so proudly environmentally sound. They deliver their stuff through something called the Fatty Wagon, which uses the oil from the fryers to power it.
Oh my gosh.
They're just brilliant, and they care. It's one of my favorite cities, one of my favorite food cities. That's why at the end of the Melt Challenge, I said, cross the Cuyahoga straight down Carnegie, and from Shaker to Chagrin. It's great to be back here in Cleveland and great to bring back home a win. That was
that's awesome.
Did you go? You had to have, as you traveled the country, there had to be some restaurants you went to where you didn't like the food but couldn't say it because you didn't want to ruin the business, right? How often did that happen?
It varies, and a lot of it has to do with my taste, right? Like if they even popped up on our radar, they're a semi-successful restaurant with some kind of internet reputation. That, a lot of it had to do with like my taste. So like if you're someone who likes thin burgers, you like thin kind of crispier, lacy hamburgers, and someone brings you a thick burger, you're not really going to dig it. I think that it's the same thing if you don't like thick crust pizza and someone brings you one. It may be a great hit in Chicago or a Sicilian slice from Spumoni Gardens in Brooklyn or whatever. But the thing is, if you like thin Neapolitan or Domino's thin crust or Chicago bar pizza, you're not going to dig that. You're not going to enjoy that.
Right.
So there were a lot of times. So I would very often say I'd praise something legitimately like the use of a certain spice or a certain type of cooking methodology.
You kept it positive.
Yeah, my one poker style tell was if I used the term interesting. If you go back and you hear me say interesting, that's Adam treading water.
That's funny.
And
Adam,
vamping for time.
I was literally in that situation yesterday. So I host a 4:00 show here in Cleveland on the NBC station. We had Chef Eric Wells. He is absolutely phenomenal. He has a business where he'll come to your home and actually make a 5-course gourmet and the best food I've ever eaten. This guy is tremendous. But so we have him in from time to time, and we had him in last night to do a Valentine's Day segment. He knows I hate seafood. He makes 2 dishes that are both seafood based, but one of them he used ground turkey. But as I'm taking a bite, he says that does have fish sauce in it.
Oh, no.
Now,
No.
Adam, I said, wait a minute, I don't like seafood. What the hell is it? What's in it?
No.
And he said, well, I probably shouldn't tell you because you're going to hate me. And then I said, listen, I got a rule. I don't put anything in my body without knowing what the hell it is. What is fish sauce?
No.
And then he told me, and he said it's fermented anchovies.
It's delicious, is what it is.
I said, what, cat urine wasn't available? And I couldn't spit it out and say it was horrible, but I literally,
Jay,
I'm
you
in the
are
process.
the only person I've ever met that's
I know.
in good shape and doesn't like seafood.
I know.
I've never met somebody in shape that doesn't like seafood.
I know, it's weird, but Adam, I was just like, oh my God, what do I do now? There's nowhere to go with this.
Did you eat it?
You eat it?
I ate it and I even swallowed it, but I thought I was going to throw up the rest of the day.
Do you just not like? Have you never liked seafood? Have you
Never. Because I'm smell based. Okay, like, you know, my mom. My mom is Italian. I grew up. It always smelled like wonderful Italian food.
But seafood's a big part of Italian.
And she would make seafood on days that she would fry fish or prepare fish. I was out of the house. I left. Mom, and my mom got to the point where she would tell me, hey, I'm doing perch tonight for dinner. I'm like, cool. You'll see me at 10 o'clock at night when I have to go to bed.
I'll let you borrow something. Here's what you do. This works well for me, but
allergic?
I'm literally am allergic.
Yeah, I've used that.
Well, listen, from now on, Jay's allergic to
Yeah.
everything.
Hey, Adam, do you what was the challenge that effed you up the most? Like where after it you were like, oh my God, I think I might die.
Yeah.
Because you did those spicy
terrible.
challenges. Ooh,
They were all pretty terrible. But the spicy one in Sarasota, which was the only spicy one I lost, and the one in Brooklyn, those two were the worst. In fact, I asked my director Dan to come into the bathroom where I was because I was convinced I was going to die like Lenny Bruce on the floor of a Brooklyn bathroom. And I didn't want to die alone, and especially not my pants around my ankles. And because the thing is, it burns you from the rooter to the tutor, so there's no escape. There's no escape. When the flame is within, you have to. The one thing I would tell you this: for anyone who wants to embark you with spicy wings this holiday season, you're going to Mecca. Listen, eat a banana at very least. A banana will give you a safe exit strategy. And it coats the capsicum so you don't get ring sting or hickory hole, as the case may be. So I would. Yeah, that's my director. That's my director of photography's euphemism for the flaming butt. He called it hickory hole. And you can eat rice and banana. It will keep you. Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, I love Szechuan cuisine. It's spicier. There's a thing known as mala, which is tingling and heat, numb and heat, and it's Szechuan peppercorn and different chilies. And when made well, it is some of the best food on this planet. The thing is, because there's lots of nuanced flavored oils and stuff like that, it's like running backwards naked through a cornfield sometimes when you go to the restroom. And so the thing is, ultimately. Shout out to the corn growers in Ohio. But that's
a visual.
That's a visual. But banana, I learned that from Man vs. Food location, Flying Pie in Boise, Idaho. Wow. Eat a banana and it encapsulates the capsicum. But in all fairness, that's the one thing that's kind of awesome though with like doing Food That Built America and doing these other ones because I've explored like the regional cuisine, the big stuff, the hot stuff, but to break down like why certain things are what they are. Like, I never knew that a popsicle got its name because the guy who created it let his kids try it, and they were calling it Pop's Icicle, and Pop's Icicle became Popsicle. Like, just little things like that. Or the fact that when the Hydrox cookie came out, they wanted to compete because they were guys who had been fired from Nabisco, which, again, little known fact, is a portmanteau of the words National Biscuit Company became Nabisco. But I didn't realize that. And they fired these two cats that opened this spot in Long Island City called Sunshine Bakery. They're still in business. They make Cheez-Its, and they're known for Hydrox. Hydrox actually came out before the Oreo, and the idea was to say that they were so pure, they chose the purest thing in their minds, which was water, which is made of hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen and oxygen became Hydrox.
Wow.
So it's all these cool little factoids that I think now doing 4 seasons of this show and now going into like the sporting goods and about Rawlings, Wilson, Spalding, and like the idea, like I was reading, I'm like, wow. So they said,
Rawlings pitched however many strikeouts with a baseball he created. Like, I just pictured Garrett Cole showing up to Yankee Stadium like, I'm going to pitch with this ball I made at home. Like, yeah, sure, buddy. Sure, pal. Or the fact that guys were considered, I don't mean to upset the FCC apple cart here, but they were kind of bitches if they used gloves. And that back in the day, guys would use construction gloves, put cotton wadding in there, paint them the color of their skin, so in the outfield it would still look like they had gloves.
That is true.
And then, so to learn about this, to learn about, we think of Hershey's as a brand, Heinz as a brand, forgetting about the men. We forget, like, that there was a man named Clarence Birdseye. It's a dope name, but like I never thought that. I just was like, what a cool name for a product.
Yeah.
Like, yo, my name is Birdseye.
That's great.
That definitely sounds like a drug deal.
By the way, Adam mentioned a pizza. Adam mentioned a pizzeria in Brooklyn, Spumoni Gardens, which I took my son to for the first time about 6 months ago. And he loved it. But I really wanted to take him, and I love Spumoni Gardens, but DeForest is my favorite, of course, although I don't know if it's going to be. Have you been there since the old man died? Is it still as good?
No, I haven't been. That's some of Dominic Domenico. The pizzeria is on Avenue J in East 17th Street in Brooklyn. So I went to Midwood. It was right near the field that we used to. Our football field was right there. So after practice, I would go up there and work on my love handles. The thing is, for me, the issue is in modern sort of foodie culture, and it's awesome. Look, I don't bitch about it because I know that restaurateurs have now, that's the thing when you look at some of these brands and look at some of these places, especially on Man vs. Food, that have been through 2 recessions and inflation, a pandemic, an endemic, that you're happy that they're still existing and that people are going to the mom and pop shops. The problem is if you grew up going there and then some big influencer goes there and now you can't eat there, it kind of sucks. And I found that I hadn't been to DeFara for that very reason. I now live in Westchester, and I'll tell y'all one place, and I get 0 kickback. So I want to make this clear. This ain't no shill, whatever. Yeah. I was randomly looking at houses up here, was meeting my broker over by the train station, the Metro North station. There's a spot called Pizzarelli's Casa de Focaccia. I am not kidding you. This place is, conservatively speaking, 12 feet from the actual track of the Metro North train, and has some of the best damn pizza and focaccia I've ever had. And the way you know it's good is the pizzaiolo wears a low-cut, like, V-neck white T-shirt, cut the chest hair, got the chains in the chest hair, and I was like, how long do you proof the dough? He's like, Adam, no, it depends on the weather. What do you think? Hey, you can't put flour, boy. You got to, come on, the weather is as high as it goes. The way it can be proof the dough. Well, come on, Adam, you got to love those
Are
guys.
you sure you're not Italian?
You know what? It's just people look at my face and they go, "Man, Fred Savage looks terrible, but Jay Leno looks great." And so I like hovering in this emo Fred Flintstone space that I'm in. This sort of Robert Downey Jr., Fred Savage, and Jay Leno, and like I've heard Elton from Murphy Brown. The actor that played Elton, like the 4 of us just ran and hit each other at the same time, and they're like, "Oh, it's a swarthy Jew."
That's hilarious.
Hey, McNuggets has been dying to ask you a question. Our producer, better be good, McNuggets.
It is. What's up, Adam? Pleasure to have you on.
Honor. It's an honor.
Thank you. No, it's an honor for us as someone who goes by McNuggets to have the ultimate food expert here. Chicken wings should be its own food group if it's not already. The single greatest food in the world. Drumsticks or flats? You are the food aficionado. What is the?
It's very.
So I go for drums. I go for drums because easier to dip, more meat, and I feel that there's this greater bang for your buck. Flats are fun because you do that little thing where you smack them into the plate, and so it looks like a lollipop. It's easy to take off, but it's a lot of skin, which gets kind of oily and unctuous, and you're dipping it in basically oil and more stuff. So I'm a drumette guy. Although the place that I really dig, it's a famous spot called Candlelight Inn. They don't separate the wing; they fry it completely, and then you have to.
I've seen a couple places that do it that way. I like them like that.
Wow.
That's a really good one. There's a great one in New Orleans called Bayou Hot Wings, and they're in a little strip mall off Jefferson. There's 2 guys who left fine dining, and use that fine dining training to just make some of the best wings in the world. So there's a few, but I like a drumette because it's just easy. You get more meat. It's easy to dip. That's my thing. But it's kind of like going to be. I need to find, like, put on a dating profile, like someone who'll take the window seat so I can get the aisle, someone who'll eat the flats so I can have the drums.
That is actually on my Hinge profile.
Hey,
it should be.
You're a huge sports fan, which is we got to know each other because we had you on Cold Pizza and First Take all the time. Talk a little bit about your fandom. I know it's Dolphins. As I remember, I think you're a Buckeye fan, aren't you?
Well, I'm a Tottenham Hotspur fan, a Yankee fan, and a Dolphin fan. Those are the top three.
Right.
And then, so the thing was, I filmed the very first episode of the pilot was shot in Memphis, but the first episode of the series was Columbus. And so...
Was that at Thurman's?
Well, the first location of the entire series was Schmidt's Sausage House.
Oh, okay. I know that well.
I even came back, and I did a AAA event at the Veterans, at the Vet. I was staying in German Village, right near Mohawk Park.
Yep.
Which was beautiful. I was just rhapsodizing about how much I love German Village in Columbus. It reminds me of what Brooklyn used to be: little tiny shops, tree-lined streets, really warm, wonderful people. But yeah, the very first show we ever shot was in Columbus.
Wow.
And going to the Horseshoe, it was like. Just, I guess for me, knowing about like Archie's legacy with the Heisman and, actually seeing, I remember watching Buckeye football, watching the Michigan-Ohio game with my pop, that actually being there and wearing, is it garnet and gray or scarlet?
Scarlet and gray.
Scarlet and gray. And actually putting it on and being in that Horseshoe, like you can't feel anything other than overwhelmed with the amount of history. It's like a religious experience almost. It really kind of is. It sounds kind of silly. And I was ironically enough wearing a Hot Sauce Williams t-shirt underneath my jersey. But, that's the thing that I feel that especially like people nowadays, when you have like the Heartland sort of, there's a kind of animosity felt with the coast, which is so whack. That is someone who's lived and loved and experienced parts of Ohio, the Emerald Necklace itself around the city, Severance Hall, the Symphony, going to West Side Market, going to Chagrin Falls and trying the amazing kettle corn, and going to the Malt Center for Jewish Studies, which is built with stone from King Solomon's mine, going to those wonderful Turkish and Armenian restaurants in and around Shaker Heights, and seeing the LeBron play at the Q. All these things like. For anyone that's listening to this that is in Cleveland or that's there briefly, like I hope they come to experience Ohio, because that was the thing. Like I didn't know all that much, and except from Cleveland, and like Columbus is such a wonderful city. Like I loved it, And it's even though I may not have an affiliation because I didn't go to these colleges. Like how do you not get caught up in Buckeye madness? How do you not scream IO when someone screams OH?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Adam, you were there like for a little bit as you follow your journey. Like obviously, if you have a love affair with food, then you also have I would guess the downside is you gain weight, you get big, your health. And when you love food as much as you or me or Adam or anybody out there, how were you able to go from saying, okay, I'm gonna eat all of these crazy challenges to wow, you was getting like you had civilian weight, like you was like 204, you look like you was in the ones. Like I'm like he's won something. How did he do that? How did you go from where you were eating those challenges to getting small, and how do you have a balance between I love food but I want to be small and I need to be healthy?
Thank you. No, I appreciate you saying all those kind words. I think about that moment where like Tyrann Mathieu is like talking smack to Brady, and Brady's like, "Oh, okay, I'll come right back at you," and then goes and scores on him. That there's this thing of never wanting to give haters the satisfaction of having something bad happen to me. I remember, like, no one tells you how to like go from anonymity to quote unquote famous. And when my clips started airing on YouTube, like obviously it's not like arrogance. I wanted to see what people were saying about me, the show, whatever. And people I didn't know were wishing that I had a heart attack, hoping my heart explodes on air. You're going to get a stroke. It'll be amazing when he loses his leg, or if they have to amputate a foot. Like people, like you're at the. People would say to me, thinking I would like be excited, like you're at the top of my office's death pool. You know, there were people who had posted something to Funny or Die, where they had like reenacted a challenge. Someone was playing me and dies in the middle of the challenge, and like that was like the big punchline of the thing. And so you read this and you're like, these people don't know me and they're wishing me ill. So first you have that moment of feeling really hurt and whatever else, and then like Adam can relate, there's that Brooklyn of F you and the horse you rode in on. Not only am I not going to die, I am going to relentlessly make sure that I look and feel good, so that every time you watch my stuff and you're going, this is the one, and I come back for 5 more episodes and 2 more shows, I'm like, that's right. Today's challenge is a giant crap burger. You're welcome to eat it all. So for me, I thank you. So I went, and I also knew the critics would detract too. And so, look, I think Nick Jonas's underwear contract with Calvin Klein is pretty safe for the next bit of future. I don't think Mark Wahlberg's looking over his shoulder.
Hey, if Tom Brady can enter the space.
Exactly. So for me, the bottom line was, I had a really great doctor in Florida, in the Jacksonville area. Shout out Dr. Kevin Holthouse. And we talked about it. And he said, I want you to take steps prophylactically so that we don't have to repair damage. So I've never had high cholesterol, but I deliberately took a statin before the show to avoid that. And there's a lot of studies that talk about the preventative aspect. Baby aspirin. He said, I need you to look at an hour of cardio every day like a life-saving pill. I don't care if you do it all at once. So the funny thing was, after challenges, like all my boys would be like, dude, I bet you are just getting booty everywhere around the country. I see these girls coming up to you, kissing you during the challenge, and girls are posting pictures like, I met Adam Richman, and me at like the Ohio State tailgate. And it's not like college girls aren't drinking and wearing cutoff denim shorts during the tailgate. And I got a Y chromosome as capital as anyone else, right? But meanwhile, there's not so much sexiness like, ooh, I bet that man's going to eat 3 pounds of burrito. And the other thing is, after that, my crew would be the one to like go out with waitresses or go out with girls and the thing. And I'll never forget this. We were filming, I felt like wide open ass. I forget which city it was in. Oh, it was Michigan. I had just done this massive burger challenge at the Fifth Third ballpark. I was so full and messed up, I was speaking in gibberish. My crew is going out with like girls that were at the ballpark and worked with the team, and there were so many cuties. It was summer, it was ball game, it's summer, it's hot, it's warm, it's this, that, and the third. And then all of a sudden they called me. They're like, are you going out? And I'm in the hotel gym on the treadmill holding a gallon of water with my head on the console, walking at about 1.7, and I had to do an hour. My doctor was adamant. He said, I do not want this in your system. I need you to get your heart rate up. I need you to get your metabolism up, and I need you to cleanse. So everyone thought that I was always pulling the trigger, but I would have no teeth left. So I would do cleanses and flushes, but you had to do a lot of water and electrolytes and stuff. Mm-hmm. So the thing is, my boys are calling me like, there's so many cuties here, man. They opened up the back room for us. We got beer, we got this, we got that. And I'm on the treadmill. You sons of bitches. Oh,
hey, man, that's dedication. That's
Adam, I know I speak for Adam the Bull, but you know how I feel about you. I feel like you and Adam are separated at birth, brothers from another mother.
And I got to say, like, I'm not someone, like, G watches a lot of food TV shows, and so does Mikey. I don't watch a lot of food shows. What got me into the show was Adam. And I'm not just saying this because you're here.
Thank you.
You have such a great personality on these shows. You're fun. You don't take it too seriously, but like it's clear you have great knowledge of the food, but you don't take but you're self-deprecating and like that combo is perfect. You made those shows, and I watched the shows that you're on, and I'll watch your new show because of you. But Man vs. Food was my all-time favorite show.
Quick, when does your new store start, and when can we see it?
Yeah.
GOAT started this past weekend.
Okay.
The one with Peyton Manning.
Love that.
And Food That Built America, I believe, starts next week. I don't have the date in front of me, and History Channel's going to kick my ass because I don't.
Here we go.
February
February
19th. I got you, Adam.
19th.
Don't worry.
9/8 Central. Thank you. So
love
yeah,
that show,
and the one about Buffalo Wings, by the way, is March 5th. It's called Flight of the Buffalo Wing, and
Nice.
I say this because I know we have to running out of time, but it's important to me, especially in the modern era. And kid from Brooklyn, that we're celebrating Elvis now, and people talk about how Elvis's music really had roots in the black music of the South and church music from the South. And one of the best things about, as we come up on the weekend where more buffalo, that the average American will consume 18,000 buffalo wings in their lifetime.
Insane.
Right. That you think about this, but that the buffalo wing, which everyone always attributes to the Anchor Bar and the Bellissimo family in Buffalo. Actually, there was a black man named John Young who had a restaurant called Wings and Things on Jefferson in Buffalo, which sort of amounted to a black Main Street in Buffalo. And he had gone and sampled a sauce in D.C. called mumbo sauce, which is still very popular in D.C. And the difference is where buffalo wings are sour, heat, and butter. These are sour, heat, and sweet. But that's the thing that I love so much. And, again, being a white television host in the middle of Black History Month, you have to be aware and culturally sensitive to these things. So to be able to celebrate John Young and to celebrate, these people that really history may have sort of glossed over, to see their contributions celebrated is
awesome.
bomb. And you will get very hungry, I promise.
Yeah. Listen, Adam.
Come on
it's
again,
great.
Adam.
Yeah,
That's
hey,
awesome,
do
man.
you ever get to Cleveland? That's my question.
Oh.
If not, we have to make that happen. You understand that.
I want to go out to eat with Adam.
Oh,
I
trust
really
me.
do.
If he
I
comes into
do
town,
go.
it's
I
going to be a
would love
blowout
to go.
night.
I do go. I would love to go. I still miss those fried Brussels sprouts at Mike Simon's Lola. I miss the Polish boy at Hot Sauce.
Mitchell's ice cream. Have you had Mitchell's ice cream?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you will.
Mitchell's ice cream. You got to have it.
Listen, you
But
know
that's
how
the
to
thing.
get a hold of me. You have my info.
I do.
Let's talk soon, and let's get you here soon. We'll bring you in studio. We'll do a
I'd be
remote
honored.
shoot somewhere at a great restaurant, and
Yeah.
we'll have one hell of a night.
And wings.
I would be honored.
Yeah.
Way too long since last seeing you, and it was great to catch you up,
Facts.
brother.
Back
All right,
at
Adam,
you.
you're the
All
best,
love to
man.
everybody. Have a safe weekend.
Thanks,
Awesome, man.
Thanks, Adam.
I
Love
didn't
y'all.
overhype him, did I? He's,
No.
he's
He's
literally
awesome.
one of the greatest
He's awesome.
guys you'll ever know.
That was
He's
awesome.
awesome.
You paid it off. You
No.
brought
That's
one
right.
of the heavy hitters, Jay.
No.
You said when you started.
And
you
now we
had
go
a list
from
of 5.
food to baseball.
I know.
Mandy
What better
Bell is
transition
here.
is there? Mandy, have you ever gone to a restaurant and eaten so much you thought you were going to die on the bathroom floor? Because Adam
Of
just told
course.
us he
Of
really.
course. You gotta at least purge at least once in a while. I'm fangirling a little bit. I'm a huge fan of his. So
Yeah,
I
he's great.
grew up
Really
watching
cool.
Man vs. Food.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
tough
he's
act to follow. Jeez, guys.
Awesome
Thanks.
guy.
What's
Awesome
the
guy.
best food at the Progressive Food press box? Would you say?
Oh, press box?
Or either press box.
Let's go concessions.
Go
Let's
concessions.
concessions.
All right, that's probably a better idea.
Fat Rooster. I think you can't beat Fat Rooster. It's
don't
out
think
in
I've
left
had
field.
that.
Oh, out in
Really?
left field. Spicy chicken sandwiches.
Yeah, very good.
That's good stuff.
There's only one though there, right? Is
Yeah,
that the one that's out in
Left field, right underneath the
Yes,
bleachers.
yeah,
Yep,
but it's great.
that would be my number one, I think.
I actually think overall the concessions here, and I've been to a lot of stadiums. You've probably been more than me, but the concessions here are really good.
They are. They
Yeah.
are. I think it's supposed to be. I mean, I have family that's vegan, and they have always talked about the fact that this is one of the highest ranking ones for food variety and just the concessions
Yeah.
in general. I've always gotten good feedback.
Very
but,
good.
Yeah.
So, Mandy, first of all, thanks for joining us. We all read you religiously.
Thank
we
you.
all we think that you're the voice to listen to when it comes to the Guardians. So we're thrilled to have you in. We haven't even talked about this on the show yet, but I have a fear. I live in skepticism as a Cleveland sports fan. The glass is empty to me.
Okay.
That way, my expectations aren't spoiled.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the win total, I think, later. And I think Vegas is over-under is 87.5, and I think that's about right. But my fear is this. What they did last year is one of the toughest things to duplicate because they had so many contributions from young guys that other teams didn't necessarily have the full book on. Now they do, and we all know about the sophomore slump, and that's real. My fear here is that they're going to underachieve this year after they wildly overachieved last year. Tell me I'm wrong, please.
I don't know if it's wildly underachieved. I do think that it's nearly impossible to duplicate. I mean, you can't do that
It's
all
lightning
again.
in a bottle, wasn't it?
You can't do that all again. Everything had to go right, and everything went right. And how often does that happen? I mean, never.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be maybe a little bit more struggle than what these younger guys are used to having. But I do think that they have a solid foundation. I don't think it's going to be wildly underwhelming this year. And they did add. I know Mike Zunino's not the answer to all the problems
They
here.
upgraded.
But they got Josh Bell, and I think that he'll be a big help for this lineup, and not just for the lineup in general, but for Jose Ramirez. I think having him behind Jose
Protection.
is going to do wonders for him, finally, to have some sort of threat behind him, because last year he had none.
Right.
So I think that's a big bonus for him, and anytime you can allow him to be better, I mean, it could be the MVP season finally, but I think that you have a lot of things going right now. You have to have a lot with pitching that goes right. You have 3 solid starters. Are those 4 and 5 okay? There's a lot still that needs to go right. It's going to be difficult to be as good as they were last year, but I don't think it's impossible.
Mandy, you look at their 40-man roster is loaded with all these good prospects. I think for 2 years we've all been assuming they're going to make some sort of big trade where they trade 3 or 4 of these guys and get a big player. They haven't done it. We still have time here, maybe, that they'll do something, although it doesn't look. I'd like them to trade for Brian Reynolds, but supposedly the asking price
You and a lot of people.
very high, right? But they have essentially given up by trading away both Will Benson, who they traded this week, and Nolan Jones, who they traded right before the Rule 5 draft, who both at one time were top prospects. I mean, Benson was a first-round pick. Nolan Jones, 2 years ago, was considered the best prospect in the system. And they essentially gave both those guys away. I know they got a high draft pick for Benson, but it was really 40-man roster crunches. And it's hard to be critical of this front office because they seem to get everything right. Were you surprised that both those guys are gone for virtually nothing?
Benson, it caught me a little bit more by surprise.
Yeah.
Just because I wasn't expecting that move at that time.
Yeah.
But it makes sense in a way. I don't know if I'm more surprised, maybe a little bit more by what they got in return. But Nolan Jones didn't have a spot on this team.
That's true.
Once they locked up Jose for that extension, he didn't have anywhere to go, and he was trying so hard to play more in the outfield. He was trying so hard. He, at the end of the season, was saying, "Please let me try to go down in AAA and play first base. I will." He was trying to be as versatile as possible, and he took that upon himself. But you can't just keep having guys play out of position, and we've seen that the last few years. We saw that with Owen Miller over at first base, and that caused a lot of problems. So they're trying to be adapting, but Nolan Jones, it could have just ended up being a DFA, and you don't want to just DFA a guy like that.
Yeah.
So they got something back, I guess, and I think that's the way that they looked at it. He was never going to really find a home there. And then eventually, like Will Benson, you started to have Will Brennan creep ahead of him.
Right.
I don't know where Richie Palacios is in that pecking order, but you have all these guys. So it was overcrowded, and I just don't think they had a home.
I'm curious about, in terms of catcher, right? Like, you can't go into the season expecting Mike Zunino to play 150 games, right? He missed a lot of time due to injury last year. Obviously, they have Bo Naylor. They did pick up a couple. Yesterday, they just signed, what's his name? Former first-round pick. I forgot his name now. Who's the White Sox. They signed him to a minor league contract. They also...
Zach Collins, right,
thank you. And then Mebris Valoria, if I'm pronouncing his name right, who's also had some time in the big leagues.
Yep.
Do you think one of those guys ends up being the second catcher? Or is it a situation where if Bo Naylor has a big spring, maybe it's a 50-50 or 60-40 timeshare with Zunino? No? If
Zunino is healthy, which they are expecting him to be, but you never know how this goes. If he's healthy, I think 100% Bo Naylor's in AAA. Okay. It doesn't matter how big his spring is.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
I really think he's 100% in AAA.
Why? Just because you don't want him to sit here and not get
correct. They want him to play.
Yeah,
and
work on things.
They
Send
want him to
down.
play. And him getting sporadic playing time is not what they want right now for him to continue to develop.
Even if it is at the big league level. They would rather
and I think they want him to play for a little bit longer. It's difficult to ignore the fact that...
Did they expect more from him last year? I did. I know, but...
No, I don't think so.
No.
They were blown
I know it was
away
a very
with this
short
season.
window they got to see him, but I expected a little more.
I think they were blown away by his minor league season. They were really impressed with the way that he bounced back from the year before.
Yeah,
he
I
had
meant
really
specifically his time up.
Right. And then whenever he came up, I think they wanted to get those first jitters out of the way for him. I think that was all that really was. I don't think they were trying to solve much in just 5 games that he was able to get into. It was really just trying to get rid of the first, so when he did come up this year, he would be a little bit more acclimated and
not
understand.
so wide-eyed.
Correct, and I think that's really what that solved. But I think he's going to be more a couple months down the line.
Let me ask you about the financials. Jay had brought up a couple weeks ago about the Bally's deal, and when you look at a team like the Guardians, they're middle of the road. Where they got to win. They got to tear it down every 5 or 7 years. They can't spend a bunch of money on a lot of top flight names. However, when you look at maybe $40, $50 million with the Bally's deal and might not have that money to use as far as their operating costs, is this something that you're going to see effects on the everyday roster? How they go about getting free agents, signing individuals to the team. Do you think that is going to show within the next couple of years the way they operate, or they're already operating as so, and they'll be able to, I guess, kind of spread it out?
I mean, they definitely have more experience in this area than the normal team, I think. So
they know how to pinch pennies.
They can get crafty. So if anyone can figure it out, it's them. But I do think that it's something that we're not really used to seeing. Like small teams really rely on those TV deals. I mean, that's so much of what comes in for them, their income, and so to lose that, it's hard to imagine that wouldn't be a difficult obstacle.
It's basically the 15 smaller markets.
Yeah. Correct.
And I don't know how this is going to work. I've got a TV background. I know a lot of people in that.
MLB is taking it over.
Jay,
I don't get it.
A $50 million loss to a small market team
can be devastating.
Is devastating.
Now they did take on another.
What I've been looking for out of the Guardians, Andy, is this: what's your game plan here? Because it's not like you're losing $50,000 here, right? This money has been allocated for contracts and things of this nature, moving the franchise forward. If this is not coming your way, there is no other revenue stream coming.
He's got the money. We'll just spend it.
I think that's the mistake the average fan makes is to think that Dolan is flush with millions.
Sell the team. Sell the team if you can't afford to pay the
payroll.
payroll.
It suddenly sounds like my Twitter mentions.
Yeah, no. I'm sorry we did that to you, Mandy.
So what do you think happens here, right? Because this train is coming. The train is going to come to the station.
Yeah.
Oh, we can hear the whistle.
They had the lowest payroll, or one of the lowest payrolls in baseball last year. How much lower can they go?
I'll throw a thesis out and see if you agree with it.
Okay.
I know we've known this has been coming. The Guardians are always ahead of the curve. They're always looking. They knew this was coming. I also don't think it's an accident that they took on another owner last year. He took on a minority owner last year.
Correct.
That's someone else who is very flush with cash that can provide an influx of funds if needed.
$50 million?
I don't know. I know
he's a
that,
billionaire. Of
I
course
know
he can
this
afford
man.
$50 million.
He's got a lot of cash. This minority owner.
He does.
He's also brought into the mix a friend of ours, Matt Klecc, who's also part of this kind of minority ownership group. I think that they've been preparing for this all along, and to your point, they're ready. They know how to operate on a very thin checkbook. I think they'll be okay.
They do. I think they always figure out how to be okay. It's just
there's levels to okay.
Yes, there's definitely levels to okay.
I've never seen anything like this. You know what my fear is, Mandy? There's already this huge chasm between the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah.
It's the geographical coastal advantage teams against middle America. And if you look at that Bally's group, they're the Milwaukees, the Cincinnatis, Texas, Detroit, Cleveland, Miami, all of these smaller market teams. I'm afraid that the gap between the Yankees, Mets, Cubs, Dodgers, Giants, and everybody else is going to get even wider. And if it does, this sport, which is already kind of treading water, I'm as a seam head, and this is my favorite sport, I worry about the future of our game. Are you at all worried about where this is going?
I'm a default optimist, so no. But
see, I'm a default pessimist.
Yeah, so I always think it gets worked out. always run into some sort of an issue at some point for any type of a sport, and everything always seems to work out. And before you get to that point, it seems so overwhelming, and it seems like it's going to be detrimental. And yeah, you can have some effects from things, but it never seems to ever like completely wipe the slate clean. So I think this is going to be a problem. I think obviously there's no hiding that. I think it's pretty clear that it could be a problem, but the default optimist in me thinks like, okay, well, everyone's going to figure it out.
Maybe
Give it a couple
Okay,
years.
all right, all right.
take-
I'll
let's
check
wear
back
you
in.
down.
Let's take a break from feeling sorry for billionaires, and let's get to rule changes in Major League
Yeah,
Baseball.
Sure.
Okay, you got this pitching clock. The veteran pitchers are going to lose their minds, right? I mean, they're going to lose their minds. I think the Guardians, and we had Will Brennan on right before Tribe Fest, or whatever it's called. Not Tribe Fest.
Guardian
Fest.
Guardian
Guard
Fest. He was like, well, a lot of us have been playing by these rules. We're a young team. And I think that's a big advantage they're going to. Now, Shane Bieber's been in the big leagues a while, but I think the fact that the Guardians are so young is a big advantage with some of these rule changes. Do you agree? Or?
Oh, I agree. It's hard not to be. I think they've all just been experiencing it. It wasn't like it was the last few years. It was like a couple months ago. So most of this team is so young that they're like, okay, well, we had a couple months without it. Whatever. We'll just go back into all of these same things. I definitely think it will be interesting to see someone like James Karinchak because he takes forever.
He's the guy
The
that you're talking
relievers in
about.
general.
He will
the
melt
relievers,
down.
Clase takes some
But
time,
again,
too.
he was
Yeah.
a minor leaguer not that long ago.
Right.
He understands
They'll have to
it.
adjust. I mean, that's it.
The rotation, they're all quick. I don't think anyone has any problem with any of
but
that.
I can't wait to see, like, Max Scherzer.
Correct.
Oh,
Those
there
are the
are
guys that are
Verlander.
different.
They're going to
Slow
lose their
workers.
mind. They get called
Now-
the ball because they didn't throw the pitch fast
By
enough.
the way,
they're going to lose their mind,
if
those
that's
guys.
punitive enough that
Yes.
it will speed them up.
Oh, yeah.
Because nobody wants to give away a free ball. But my thing is, the bottom line is it worked.
It
In
cut
the
down
minor
like
leagues.
35 minutes,
It cut
right?
a half hour off the average length of game.
Yep.
And clearly they're doing this to try to bring more young fans into the fold. Right now, this is sad to me because baseball's always been enough for me.
Yeah.
You can stage a game in the middle of a grass field somewhere, I'm going to show up.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at these stadium modifications, and they're all appeasements to 20-somethings to get them to come to the stadium and pretend we're a bar.
Yeah, but the problem is,
pretend
Jay,
we're a bar. There's a
Mandy-
freaking baseball game
Mandy
going
is
on.
one of only like 50 people under the age of 40 that loves
but Jay-
baseball.
I
Jay-
know.
You guys know this. Love is not enough to
Mandy-
keep a relationship going.
Mandy is not just for the 20-something. There's a group of people out here that don't want to see 9 innings, right?
Yeah.
They want to experience the experience of going to a game, enjoying some good
No,
quality.
Brad, I get it.
I know that's the
I know
problem.
It's smart. It just pisses me off as a baseball fan
I get
to
it.
think that we've got the elite in the sport worldwide,
Yeah.
not 1%, the 1/10 of 1% that have played this game. And it's got to be demeaning to the players, too. They're like, yo, we're out here doing our thing, and
No.
you're going to renovate the
No, no.
stadium and put more bars up here so people can pretend
doing
we
it.
like
ball.
it.
They're
Not
doing
involved.
it.
If it means more people in the park, they'll take it.
They're doing it in basketball.
I
They're
know.
doing it in football.
And they're all the
They're
same.
doing it-
The
I'm
players
taking
are
my
the
ball
same
and going home.
generation.
Get off my lawn.
The
That's the
players are
problem.
the same generation as the people who are demanding this type of a thing. So
Right.
the
I know.
players would get it as well. I mean, I hate to talk about it as if I'm not part of that, but I feel like I'm the outlier
damn
because
kids.
I would.
Jay, it's the same person that applied for the job that said, I'm not working for that. I'm not, no.
No, I know. You're right.
I
You're
can't
right.
give you the job now.
And look,
not
I'm
doing
glad
it.
they're
I'm
making the
not
improvements. I'm
doing
glad
it.
they're going to put more butts in seats. That's what this is all about ultimately.
For a fringe guy, can anybody tell me if this is going to be used as a competitive advantage? Like we know what the Astros do, right? The Astros, and there are certain teams that say, okay, well, there's a shot clock now. For me, I'm like, yeah, it's a pitch count. So now,
I think the shift.
Are they gonna be a competitive nature to some teams say we're gonna maximize this, we're gonna play around on the bases, we're gonna do things
Mandy,
like that?
the bases being bigger, that's an advantage for the Guardians who already run more than any team in the league, right?
Yeah, I think it has to be, and I
Yeah.
think it's going to make it fun. I think it
Absolutely.
think about Jose Ramirez. He's already chaotic as it is on the base paths. He's already aggressive, but he does it in like a weird, safe way. I don't know how you can be aggressive and safe at the same time, but he's mastered that.
He's a great base runner.
He's
I don't think
incredible,
he gets enough credit
intelligent.
for that.
He doesn't.
Mandy, did you see what the increases were in successful steals at the minor league with the bigger bases?
Huge. And the Guardian, that's
I'm
an
blown
advantage.
away by that. It's not that much bigger, but that tells you how close every play is
I thought the
on the
same.
steal.
Right.
I thought maybe they'd go up 3 or 4%. It's over double digits
Yeah.
in terms of
Well,
successful
plus
steals.
for Jose specifically, you can't put the second baseman in the outfield anymore.
Correct.
So that's huge. He's going to get more hits.
Yep.
How many times does you see him line out to that short right field?
A
area?
lot.
Yep.
So do these new rules? Here's my question to you guys, because you're the baseball people. Do these new rules enamor you to a younger athlete? You know, because when they made the rules in basketball, shorten the game, not shorten the game, but the 3-point line, everything else, it took the old school dudes basically out the game, right?
Yeah.
There's a new wave of person coming in here that, you know,
So will there
that
be
never,
a new,
that
will there
never
be a
existed.
new wave of players where stealing bases, because for the last 15 or 20 years,
being phased out.
speed was like, okay, you're fast, that helps defensively, but we don't run anymore. So I think that might bring back that player like that Miguel Delaney to go really old school. I know you remember him. Vince Coleman, the guys whose careers were extended because they can get on and steal a base in a spot. That's a thing again, I think, with this.
Yeah, I definitely think it opens up a new avenue of like a specific niche of players that can thrive because of that. But to your point, I don't think it does really much to older players or more veteran players to really exclude them in any way, shape, or form, because I think it would be something like if you have shift limitations, maybe you see someone like Miguel Cabrera who's still been able to get more hits this year in his farewell tour, and it's something that can help him. And so it's just like, I think that there's perks and there's disadvantages for both sets, I would guess. I think it doesn't seem like it's specific to one.
I guess I always felt like baseball had removed itself from the people. Right, there were purists that loved baseball, but it really removed itself from the people. Because at one time, baseball in the black neighborhood was solid.
What you mean? Everybody played.
It was solid.
Even
it ain't
if
solid
you
no
played
more.
basketball,
Well, just
you
look at the
played
number.
all summer.
Look at the number of black
it ain't even
players
lukewarm.
in the game. It's plummeted.
It's not even lukewarm.
Yeah.
So you exclude a whole set of folks that have what I say flavor to flavorize, because you're trying to sell your game to the public, right?
Sure.
So you have to marry the two, right? And that's what the NBA has figured out, how to marry the two.
I think baseball is trying to get in inner cities more and get more black players in the game because the numbers have been going down.
They've got great programs for it.
Their RBI program is basically specific for that. They want that.
It's great here.
It is.
The Cleveland, they've made it to the national tournament. They've got unbelievable facilities.
It is great.
Beautiful.
Wait a second.
facilities.
Here's the most important question. Sorry to cut everybody off, but Mandy, I need your advice. I have the third pick in my fantasy baseball draft.
I'm not giving fantasy
Wait a
advice.
second. She can't do that. Shohei Ohtani's going to go 1. I think Aaron Judge is going to go 2. So my choice is
You're trying to get me in trouble.
Jose or Trey Turner. Jose or Trey Turner.
Give it a side eye.
He's going to force you away. He's going to force you away.
I'll answer that for you, Jose.
Should I take Jose?
I don't think you can go wrong with having Jose.
I think I'm going to take Jose.
Is that a
It'll
good
be more fun.
non-answer?
To Mandy's point earlier, you know how important protection in the lineup is.
Yeah, sure.
It's massive. What he did last year, and this is why I knew he wasn't going to win it, and I even said it on this show, and I got attacked by people. I think if you look at pure value,
right?
I still think that he was last year. It's even hard for me to say it because
you're out of your mind.
But in my eyes, I know how hard it is to hit when you got nothing behind you.
Agreed. Jose's amazing, but Aaron Judge was clearly the most valuable player.
I know he was. I know it. I get it. And in any other year, it would have been much easier for me to make that argument.
Yeah.
And if Jose didn't get hurt in June, it could have been a different argument
I think
too.
that
he wasn't as good the second half.
We look at those splits between mid-June
clearly
and
we found out after the season that the hand was a lot more of a hindrance than we thought it was.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to have a better year next year just because he's got protection behind him in the line.
How is this not Ohtani? How does he not get the
he
MVP
could just win the
every
MVP
year?
every year.
Well, he's going to redefine that award because
I'm confused.
on true value.
You know he's going to redefine is when he's a free agent next year and he gets paid $500 million.
Yeah, the bank will be broken. And by the way, those
crazy.
15 Bally's teams probably won't even be in the bidding.
No.
They don't need to come
Although would
come to
they
the
have been
table.
anyway?
No.
No, they wouldn't have.
No, they wouldn't have.
Mandy, I don't know if you know this because this is kind of really deeply it's not on the field stuff, but we were talking before the show. MLB Network, thankfully, came out and said, look, we're going to cover these games. These games are going to be televised. How the hell are they going to do that?
I have no idea.
This is 15
I really don't.
teams. It's half the league is looking at a television situation where they don't know what's going to happen. They don't know.
They're going to figure. Baseball's done a bad job of you can't stream games and all these blackouts, but hopefully they'll straighten it all out.
Put it on YouTube.
But I wanted to get back on the field for a minute because Ahmed Rosario's in probably his last year with the Guardians. They haven't traded him. At this point, I'm assuming they won't trade him.
Yeah.
But, like, from what I've heard, and obviously you know it a lot better than me, he's very important in that locker room. Like, he became a leader. Did that something that just happened this last year? I mean, how important is he to this team?
I think it did sort of blossom last year because the veteran guys and mid to late 20s is a veteran guy now for this locker room. But it is. I mean, he had to be forced into a leadership type of a role because everyone around him is looking around saying, where do I go? Like, I don't even know where to get to the training room. Like that, it's small things like that. And because he's so close to Jose, they are inseparable. You never see one without the other. They come in to every game, they leave every game, they go everywhere to warm up. Everything they do is together. And so Jose has a natural ability of leading, and he does it in a different way than most would do. And I think Ahmed Rosario has sort of fed off of that and learned from him and has sort of entered into that space of, okay, I'm going to lead these guys alongside Jose.
So let's get to the good stuff. Your knowledge here.
Okay.
How you get to this baseball thing? How did you get immersed in that? I know.
Brainwashed as a young child. That's all it takes.
Tell me how that happened.
Huge baseball fans growing up. Yeah, just I grew up in Pennsylvania, and I was the one like down in my basement by myself every single night watching baseball. And my dad obviously was a big baseball fan, and so grew up watching that together. And I became more psychotic than he is when it comes to it.
Were you a Phillies fan or a Pirates fan?
Neither.
Or neither. Who was your team growing up?
Oh, you're gonna out me again.
I don't remember.
You see, he didn't question these questions he be doing.
I was a Yankees fan.
So what?
Yeah. Oh boy. Don't tell Twitter that.
Right.
Derek Jeter was my big thing. So Derek Jeter
makes a lot of sense.
Yes. So
Mandy, have you met Jessica Mendoza?
I have. I have.
She educated me on a lot of things, like a lot of Neanderthalic men.
Yeah.
When she first came into the baseball group at ESPN, I wrongly said, that's an interesting hire. Why are we going that route? And then I got to know her and work with her every day. And after 3 months of working with her, I'm like, Jiminy Christmas. I get it. She is the most knowledgeable baseball friend that I have. I can talk to her and completely lose sight of the fact that she never played the game. She was a softball player, but we've had deep hitting conversations before.
Oh, yeah.
Where, she was a record setter at Stanford. I'm wondering if what's maybe a piece of advice that she gave you, or what your relationship with her was like, and what it was like knowing her, getting to know her.
Now, if you know Sarah Langs,
yes.
Obviously anyone who follows us on Twitter knows that we're best friends.
She is, by the way, unbelievable.
Yes. Of course.
I hope she would speak of me the same way. She did to my face, but I don't know. Yeah. She's so nice to everybody.
She never says anything bad about anyone.
Her.
So
I love her.
So I've met Jess through her because she's still part-time for ESPN. She helps out with their Sunday night baseball broadcasts. And so the last few years, I've traveled a little bit more with Sarah whenever she's needed to go different places. And so I've met more ESPN people through her. Right. And so I think the thing with Jess is more just learning from her presence and just how she carries herself. Yeah. And it's difficult to be a minority in any type of a room, and so to see the way that she carries herself and doesn't feel the need to overprove that she belongs, because you can easily fall into that. I think it's easy to sit back and watch someone and just take away from the way that they carry themselves.
Do you kind of feel the same way about as a woman in sports? Do you sometimes feel like you have to overprove your knowledge? If you get in a room full of guys, you feel like
most guys are dopes.
I gotta let them know.
We are.
Sometimes do you find that pressure, and how do you deal with it?
It's easy to feel that whenever especially in a new environment. I came here in 2019, and you want to prove that I'm the only woman on the beat, really, that's day in and day out in the BBWAA for Cleveland. So you want to just be like, okay, I want to establish that I belong here. And luckily this chapter, these guys who are in Cleveland, they're the greatest, and none of them have ever made me feel any other way.
I'm glad to hear that.
But internally, you feel like, okay, as soon as you get here, you have to establish yourself.
G. Bush, to your point, like minority in sports, And I've had this conversation with women that have covered other sports, and I would love to talk to Aditi about this sometime because she's covered both baseball and basketball or NFL. Women are still the minority in sports media, but in the NFL and in NBA, they've caught up so fast that they're really not anymore. I mean, when you look around in the key positions, and it's in part because the women that have come in and done it have been mind-bogglingly good.
They're good.
Especially at the NBA.
They're
level.
good.
I look at what
They're better than the guys.
I look at what Doris Burks does and
yeah.
her. And there's other pioneers. I think Jess is the pioneer in baseball, but the women in baseball are a minority in sports like none other we have.
Yeah.
And I just give you all the kudos in the world.
Thank you.
Because it is not easy to do what you do, but you do it so well, regardless of what anybody else might be whispering or the idiots. Like you said, most men are. I was kind of in that group. I asked the question about Jess, and I've told Jess this, and I've apologized to her. And I've learned, man, you just don't make those early judgments because they're always wrong.
Yeah, and you mentioned Sarah, who I know was diagnosed with ALS.
Yes.
And just awful, obviously. And I know you've been involved with trying to raise money for her.
Yeah.
She's a great writer.
How is she?
And how is she doing? And if you want to share any website or anything to try to promote to raise money for her?
Yeah, I mean, she's doing as good as you can. I mean, it's the worst diagnosis that anyone could ever have. And right now, she's actually in the process of reading the book on Lou Gehrig's life. Okay. And that's really interesting to hear her perspective on all of this because she's reading it. And last night, she actually just texted me and said he truly thought he was going to get better. Like they just, one, didn't have the information they have right now. Right. And two, the doctors were so nervous about breaking that news that they were so nice and beating around the bush around it. Right. And at that time, they had written that they think that it won't be a terminal disease in the near future, and that was 1939. And there's been little to no improvement since then, which is just mind-boggling. And so, I mean, she's doing okay. She doesn't let it slow her down as much as it wants to. Yeah. She keeps powering through, and yes, like you said, I ran a half marathon. Would not recommend. That's not fun.
It's torture.
Yeah, it's absolute torture. But she was crazy and was a runner before all of this, and I still judge her for that. I'm like, why did you do this for fun? But I did a half marathon, her favorite one in Disney. We went together in January, and I was able to raise $100,000. So that's
to you for that.
Is there anything people could still do to?
We're actually about to shut it down in the next week. So I guess if we can get the last few, if anyone wants to go on there, you can go on my Twitter. It's my Twitter's Mandy Bell 02. It's my pinned tweet. It's the GoFundMe is still up there. We're
do what you can, folks.
And by the
Mandy,
way,
send me the link. We'll tweet
for
it out.
those of you that don't know Sarah and her story, do you know a bigger baseball fan?
No.
I when I was in the Baseball Tonight group at the end of my time at ESPN, I told her this. I am surrounded by people that love baseball. One of my great friends is Tim Kirkshin. Tim Kirkshin was such a nut that he literally, from the time he was a little boy, cut out every box score of every game and still has them stored in shoe boxes. And I keep telling him, you do know that there's Baseball Reference, like you can. Well, I know, but I got But she knows baseball more than him.
She just won an award in New York at their BBWAA dinner that I flew out there to go be with her for that. And Buster Olney gave the intro speech to her receiving the award, and he talked about the fact that he never thought he would find a bigger baseball fan than Tim Kirkshin, and somehow Sarah Langs is it.
Tim's 2 for me. She's number 1.
She's insane. She sits there and watches every Winter League game during the off season. And,
she does.
She probably watched Korean baseball during the pandemic.
Oh, if it's baseball and it's on, she's watching it, even if she has to stream it. And
she needs it.
What I noticed working with her was something obscure could come up when we were doing Baseball Tonight, a game that, like just something so bizarre, and we might say, God, I don't know if that's ever happened.
Yeah.
No
She'd
computer,
know
no nothing. She goes, no, it happened one other time, 1979, Pirates, Expos, and it's like,
she's
amazing.
A walking database of knowledge.
It's unbelievable. I love her to death. She's awesome, and I'm so happy that you were able to raise that kind of money for her cause. Our thoughts and prayers are with her, and thank you for coming in. I hope you come back. You will.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
When are you leaving for spring training?
Monday. Couple
You
days.
excited to be in warm weather?
It's already started.
Well, it's not warm until like mid-March, so we got to get there.
Than here.
Well, you can.
I guess,
have
but the
warm
mornings
days,
are 34 degrees.
When you get to the field in the morning, It's frosty.
Yeah.
It's cold as hell because
There's
the worst
no
part about it
humidity.
is there's no humidity. So you get out there and it's like there's no way it's 34.
It's still better than here. I don't care.
Well, the weather.
I'm not going to complain.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'll see you out there. I'll be out there.
Okay, cool.
And I can't wait to get baseball season started.
Oh.
I agree.
And we hope to get you in our regular rotation. We'd love to
Thank
have
you, Mandy.
Yeah,
part
that
of
was
here. We
great. Thanks,
appreciate it.
guys.
Mandy, thanks.
Awesome.
Really,
Thank you,
really
Mandy.
well done.
We just tweeted out the link too, so if you'd like
Oh,
to
good.
donate and help out,
Thank you, guys.
check it out on our Twitter page. Mandy, thank you for coming in. We got a couple things we got to promo here.
Okay.
Steve, let's talk about memberships real quick. For $1.99 a month, you can become a starters
Thank you,
tier
Mandy.
member of the Ultimate
Thank
Cleveland
you.
Sports Show. That gets you all the loyalty badges, custom emojis, community-only posts. For $4.99 a month, become a coaches tier member. All those same starter tier perks, plus overtime videos. Today's overtime, viewers' choice questions. Some great questions sent in from our coaches tier members. You get to text with Jason Lloyd and other guys from the show during select Cavs game. That's popping off lately. Get discount codes for merch and more. If you're not a member, you're missing out. Some awesome stuff happens in overtime. We are working on figuring out how to post a link to the comedy show. That's coming up in the near future. And also, as always, when we talk about stuff from the internet, which is what the next topic is, it's brought to us by PCC Airfoils. Are you looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. Internet told us yesterday the contenders in the East got slightly better. No major moves. The Cavs decided not to make a move. Quickly, guys, in 5 minutes, agree or disagree with the Cavs' decision not to make any moves at the trade deadline?
I disagree.
Yeah, I disagree as well.
I disagree.
Now, we don't know what they could have done, without knowing. But the only reason I say, listen, I think we all know they couldn't get a great player. They didn't have the ammunition to get a great player.
They couldn't get the guy that they felt would put them over the top.
But you had all these teams trading second-round picks for like decent players. Couldn't they trade second-round picks for somebody?
Well, I guess I'm listening to you, all you guys. I'm on the other side of the fence here. I'm gonna tell you what.
You're okay with nothing.
Here, first of all, I've got a solid foundation. I'm not mortgaging any more of the future right now for if coming maybe. What is smart, I thought, was this. If you couldn't get a block, now you get a Durant, you get somebody special.
What about Jay Crowder?
I'm not that guy. Right? I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that ticket.
But for
right?
second-round picks?
Here, I'm looking more for. If I'm the Cavaliers, I'm thinking like this. Let me see who gets bought out here. Right.
Well, there's a bunch of guys. Yeah, that's true. They may add that way.
So if there's a select, because I only need a specific need, right?
Well, what about Russell Westbrook? He's not playing.
No, I will tell you this. You asked me that. You know what I told somebody 2 days ago when they were talking about sending Westbrook to Utah and going to buy him out? Oh, I'm a buyer.
You take him?
Really?
Let me tell you why I'm a buyer.
Wow.
Let me tell you why I'm a buyer on
Okay,
Westbrook.
change my mind.
Westbrook, before he got to L.A., Westbrook wasn't a problem, right?
Oh, I know, but is it because he got old?
But no. Westbrook's been coming off the bench the whole year, Jay. I don't need him to start.
Yep.
But what the Cavaliers do need is somebody that's tough,
Nasty.
don't
care.
right?
And if he's a pain in the ass, they can just cut him.
Right.
It's only for a year. It's only for half a season.
It's 6
Good
months.
point. There's really no risk.
There's no downside.
Let's say he's being a bad teammate, he's a pain in the ass, then you
no
cut him.
downside.
It's only for half a season. But I want to see, because there's going to be a number of people that get bought out here, right?
Yeah.
And then because I got
He
with
is
you.
not playing in Utah.
I saw
No
everybody.
chance.
I saw everybody. I saw the flurry of people moving around here. Kids dropping kids off at daycare in the morning, coming back, and they leaving.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you.
Like, what do you mean? I got to get my kid. I'm like,
I'ma tell
no,
you
you got a
something.
plane at 5 o'clock.
I'm gonna tell you something, Brad. You know who watching? I'm gonna keep it real. Donovan Mitchell watching. He looking at it like the Cavs have to let him know and signal to him
That they mean
that
business.
They
mean business.
all out. Because the worst thing you can be is a middling player who does not have a ring, has not been deep into the playoffs, and you look around and you think of people doing moves just to put people in the seats. There needs to be fire under people and letting people know we're not only trying to do what we can to, embark on putting people in the seats, but guess what? We bringing somebody in that's a veteran. He done played. He's a Hall of Famer.
The only reason not to is if you think he's going to screw up the chemistry of the team.
They were not going to get a significant player or fill a void without giving up a significant piece. If you look at all those moves, all those real moves, I'm not talking about the teeny tiny moves. The real moves require real people to be moving on,
of course.
Right? So we're not doing that. So now you have to play the secondary market here, because again, this is not New York, this is not LA. They don't have that kind of money flowing around here like that. You have to say this: let me see what I can get for a bargain, and let me see, because you know there's a number of people that are going to get bought out here. And now that's the secondary market I'm going for.
And go ahead.
I was going to say, if a guy gets bought out, maybe you know this, Mikey.
You do not have to pay a salary.
You pay him nothing, right?
No,
like
you
got to pay the league minimum.
You pay the league minimum, but everything else is picked up by the private team.
Once he clears waivers, once he's well, it won't even be waivers because he'd be bought out.
Yeah.
Once he's bought out, he's a free agent.
So Russell Westbrook's not really affecting your salary cap
at all.
No,
as much as his reputation at times has been bad. Brad makes a point. He never was that bad before L.A. Like L.A., it seemed to get worse.
Bull, I was stunned at how quickly he went from a top-tier difference maker to just a guy who was a problem.
So let's talk about why he went to that, right? Because I know it well. Sometimes you play with some of the greatest, your skills get diminished. So let's talk about, for as great as LeBron is, and I'm a LeBron fan, he has taken a number of people down with him. Kevin Love went down, right? Chris Bosh went down.
When you play with
Westbrook went down.
Wade went down.
Why do you think that people he has not been able to attract major talent with him? Because people see it.
Well, you know what? On that point, I want to get your thought, because you haven't been here. Anthony Davis's reaction to the record-breaking bucket speaks so loudly to me.
I saw it. And then I saw
what do you make of it?
I saw his backpedal too. I was like, don't backpedal.
Wait, I didn't hear what he said.
His backpedal was, I was mad about the game. We were losing, and it's nothing against LeBron. I was like, dude, you caught so much smoke that you had to come out with a mea culpa. That's what it was.
That piece.
What did it say to you about the chemistry between the two of them?
It says to me that in the aura of the Lakers and LeBron James, that all is not well, right? All is not well.
It looked toxic to me.
And so people get tired. And they look like, because they all make money. He's making a lot of money. You're like, man, I don't need this mess, right? That's what it looked like. And that's what I think what Jalen Rose picked up from the beginning. Like, because here, you just saw one of the greatest feats of all time. You had to be supportive of it.
He sat down. He didn't even look at it.
Kareem looked kind of miserable, too.
Well, you know, he was going to be miserable. But I said, when you sit down, you saw his face, Jay. This was his face.
I know.
Yeah. When you play with LeBron.
Now, you saw everybody else with their hands up, jumping
He never
up.
raised his hands. Like it was complete disrespect.
When you play with LeBron, you got to understand this, man. It's facts. LeBron is going to get all the credit, and he's going to get none of the blame. When you hear them say the Lakers Skip Bayless, right? When you hear them say LeBron James and the Lakers, right?
Yeah.
When they say the Lakers is playing bad, they had to move Westbrook out of their lineup and put him on the bench to prove it wasn't even that bad of a Westbrook. AD get all the, they say, AD, you ain't never here. You injured all the time.
That's
it was
true,
Westbrook. They put Westbrook on the bench. And so the thought process is this. If you play with LeBron, look, you go back, I'll give you Isaiah Thomas. Mm-hmm. Jay Crowder didn't like playing here. Dwayne Wade said, listen, trade me, and that's his boy.
Kyrie blew up a championship team.
It's a long list of people.
It's a long list of big men.
And it's nothing against LeBron.
But that's a superstar syndrome.
No, it's how he plays.
And the attention that he commands.
Well,
not
he
just
commands the attention, but the way he plays,
he has the ball.
He dominates everything. So you have to basically give up your whole soul to be here.
He's too alpha for another alpha to work with.
And then here's the story.
I mean, in fairness, though, even though Kyrie, I'm going to blame Kyrie, though, because Kyrie's a knucklehead. But Kyrie played great with LeBron. I mean, it wasn't like Kyrie's play went down with LeBron.
He was. I thought.
So I'm not going to blame LeBron from Kyrie wanting to leave.
Here, first of all, I'm not blaming LeBron. I'm just telling you the side effect of playing with him by the way he plays. Because, you think, well, he moves the ball around it. No, he doesn't. He suck up the oxygen in the room because everybody's got to breathe here, right?
Well, did guys feel that way about MJ?
No, what happened was before Phil got there, they sure did.
Yeah.
And what Phil did when he put in that triangle offense, he made him share that basketball. That's how Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant and them all got to go.
It's just like when you were young.
Because before we was like, I'll tell you what they used to say when we hit the road. We hit the road, the New York papers used to put in there when we come to play the Knicks. Here come Jordan and the Jordanaires. Like, what? What?
Yeah,
The Jordanaires. What is this?
We was in the first episode of this, Brad. They was going around the horn. They was like, hey man, G. Bush, you didn't speak at all today. I'm like, you know what, damn it, you gonna let me talk. And McNuggets, we ain't gonna do that yet, because I ain't talked yet, and I'm gonna get my money off, because that's how I'm playing.
And what happens is it festers
Right.
over time. Because I don't care what Anthony Davis said. Anthony Davis' face told you everything.
Yeah, he doesn't need to
it
speak.
did.
His actions drown
And then
out his
Westbrook's
words.
actions and all of. So I bet you if you peel back the layers of the skin here, right, you'd find something down there that's not sitting well with everybody.
You know when we'll get that onion completely peeled back is when one of them leaves and they decide that they're going to bare their soul. It always happens that way. They're not going to do it while they're on the same team, but we'll find out the truth of their relationship and how it's hindered their success on
Let's
the court.
pull the onion back. Let's pull the onion back on this note. What you
Yeah,
got?
we're going to check BetJack, see what the odds are on either Anthony Davis or LeBron has moved this offseason. Speaking of BetJack, it still is the official sportsbook of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show because Ohio sports fans, it is an app to download on top of our friends at Bet River. I guess now we got one at the beginning of the show, one at the end of the show. 2 sportbook options. Download the BetJack app. Get all the Super Bowl props, squares, parlays, anything you need from BetJack. They have it. It is not only Ohio sportsbook, also the sportsbook of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. The Super Bowl is tomorrow. A lot of on Sunday this weekend. Excuse me. We have fence questions. We have 6 questions. We have 9 minutes. We're gonna fly through these. You ready?
Here we go.
Let's go.
First one. Will Hassan Reddick have more sacks than Chris Jones? Everyone on set today said no.
For a second, I thought he said sex. Will he have more sex than Chris Jones? That's what I thought he said for a
The
second.
answer will also be no on that one.
I don't know if BetJack has odds on that one. That one might be tough to find.
I like
odds
that there
on.
was a nugget in there.
Yeah.
Nugget in
Yeah.
there now.
Yeah, listen, I'm part of this now. The
Yeah.
nugget adds a nice touch. Tyvis and Jason said yes. Everyone else said no. G, you didn't get your words off last time. You were the only one to answer this question. Go.
What?
Why do you think Chris Jones has more sacks than Hassan Reddick?
How do I think?
No,
Why
why
do
do
you-
you think that he will?
Oh, because Chris Jones is a better player and he dominates in big games. What are
Chris
you talking
Jones
about?
had never had a sack in the playoffs before the Bengals game.
But he had a.
But he had two
But he had
big
two in
ones.
that game.
Big ones.
He had a sack in the Super Bowl.
No, he didn't.
He had no sacks in the Super Bowl.
No,
against-
because you're right. That was, I remember they
had
said
not
that's
had a
his
sack.
first postseason
It was
sack
his first
ever.
postseason sack
Yeah,
last week.
and he had 2.
ironically.
Yeah.
Well, Chris Jones still. I don't care. He better.
Easy money. All right, next question. Will Jalen Hurts be the leading rusher in the Super Bowl? There is one person alone on this side of the fence, and Steve, it is the chicken nugget. I think he will be.
Wow.
You're tripping.
Why?
I think when the biggest game comes to fruition, I think as soon as the pocket breaks down, Hurts is going to run. They're going to have design
Who do you
runs.
guys
They know-
think is going to be the leading
they,
rusher?
they know they can take everything out, and I still think his shoulder's kind of banged up. I think he's going to have like 65 rushing yards.
I got Isaiah Pacheco as the leading rusher in the game.
Oh, wow, really?
I
Nah,
actually,
the back from Philly's not bad.
Miles
No,
Sanders.
Sanders is going to
not-
lead
it's-
the lead. He'll be the leading
not
rusher
bad.
for the game.
I got Pacheco. Eagles' weakness is their run defense.
We ain't taking nobody from Rutgers as the lead rusher. No,
and
we're
and
not.
Kansas City just, I mean, I know that's their weakness, but they still
They've
love
run
to
it
throw
more,
the ball.
though. They
love
have
to
run it
throw.
more.
They did. Well, they needed to against the
I'm going with
Bengals.
Sanders on that one, but
Yeah.
I don't
you
think
guys
it'll be
go with-
Hurts.
all
I
going
don't
with
think it'll be
Sanders?
Hurts. Yeah, I am.
I got Pacheco.
I might take Pacheco too, just on some sneaky.
No, stop drinking the Kool-Aid. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid.
Wasn't there a game on Price is Right called Pachinko or Pacheco?
No, Plinko.
Plinko, okay,
They drop the discs and they hit those little pegs.
Yeah.
Let's go,
I
Mikey.
mean, there's like
Let's go, Mikey.
$10,000.
Really quick, my favorite game was the mountain climber guy
Yeah.
with the music.
I've been trying.
And then if you go over, you fall off the
Yeah.
cliff.
My favorite game was the ones where you had to pick the price of the stuff, like the detergent or something, and you'd be like, "Hey, what?"
Gee, that's the whole show. Price is Right. There's a lot of games where you got to pick the
They're
price.
all like that.
all that.
Next.
We had,
Plinko
like
was
that too.
awesome, though.
we
you
had
got?
3 different answers for who the leading rusher is, so it shows that
Yeah.
there is
Yeah.
a wide variance. Question number 3, speaking of threes, will there be more touchdowns than punts in this game? This was a split answer here. And Jay, you said no, you haven't gone yet. This one's all you.
Yeah, oftentimes what we think is going to happen in the Super Bowl doesn't happen.
Nope.
And I'm not
Generally,
talking
they're
about-
lower scoring than you expect.
Yes.
You are usually right on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I just think that as you look at these offenses, are they 1 and 2? Where are the
yeah.
offensive
Well,
rankings?
you said there were going to be more punts.
I think
Yeah,
they 1
no.
and 3 or something like that.
You expect, because
I
these
gotcha.
offenses are so highly ranked, that this is going to be a 35-31 shootout. I'm just saying that historically, when you think one thing's going to happen, a lot of times it doesn't. It's the other way around.
Man, it's
so
hard.
I think this game's going to be a little bit more about defense than people think.
Okay.
Could be wrong.
No.
It's very difficult.
I'm thinking like
Let
a
it be a close
23-20.
game.
I'm looking
kinda
for a very good game here.
I am. It's a
I'll be
close game
disappointed if it's not a good game.
because you talk yourself
be
out of a
really
lot of
upset.
stuff in the first quarter.
I mean-
First quarter, you be feeling it. They be doing.
I'll be
yeah, I'm gonna run.
I'll be disappointed if it's
I
a
will
bad
too.
game.
Yeah.
I'll be mad.
All right, question 4. Will Patrick Mahomes throw for more touchdowns than Jalen Hurts scores total touchdowns? Another relatively split answer. Brad, you could go on this one. You said yes.
Yeah, well, Patrick Mahomes knows how to sling it, right? And Jalen Hurts knows how to lead. And now, was that going to translate into scores that he leads the way on? Mahomes is magical. And I saw him get off that plane, and he wasn't walking too bad.
No, he looked fine.
He wasn't walking too bad. So I was like, if he could just up it just a little bit, Mahomes going to put it down. Yes, he is.
How are you worried about his receivers? His receivers are all dinged up.
I know. But he got the safety blanket.
Travis Kelce.
Kelce all day long.
But his back has been.
Well,
kind of
Juju's
wonky.
is going to be fine. He's going to
When
play.
I say dinged up, they're going to be out there. But
Yeah.
none of them are 100%.
None of those guys are that
Hey,
great anyway.
When you were in the Super Bowl, I'd have been a state championship game. It ain't the Super Bowl.
Oh, you're fine
But
away.
I done got shots.
You're fine
I done
away.
got Vicodins.
You're fine.
I done got Percocets. I done got. I was out there on everything. Listen,
He ate a seal before to get that seal blood.
my grandmother gave me some old Indian burial type cream to put on. I took everything.
Put the Vaseline on.
He got
They
the
brought
bone.
Rambo
Hey,
in.
Jay, he got the bone marrow. He did whatever it took.
He drank a bottle of castor oil.
Hey, listen, I got a transplant. They gave me an ankle transplant.
Rubbing the
everything.
clear and the cream.
He walked in with the
My head got bigger.
He walked in with electronic stim machines on to make
fit
sure
by
he
the
was
end of the
ready to
game.
Yeah,
go.
they're like, man, G. Bush was hobbling. I broke my ankle. I was trying to run around playing basketball the week before the state championship game.
Oh.
And I fractured my ankle. And, we played St. Xavier. Shout out to Mike Doss. It didn't even matter, but I ended up playing, but he dominated. We won.
We got 2 more questions. Jay, you're going to get this one. Bull, you get the next one because
right.
you guys are the lone ones on that side. Will either team force at least 2 turnovers in the game? Jay, you said yes, and you and me are alone.
Yeah, I think that there's always jitters that go along with this game. I don't think Mahomes is going to have them because he's been there. But I think Jalen Hurts, guys, I'm telling you, I'm still not completely convinced that he's
You correct.
that guy. I think
you
he's going to make
correct.
an ill-advised throw or two, and
He might get loosey-goosey with the ball
I'm afraid that he could.
on a scramble.
That first Super Bowl, guys that have played in 4, 5, 6, 7, 9,
Yeah.
they all talk about that first one as if it was a time warp. They don't remember it. The one thing they remember is running out of the tunnel, and then they remember the confetti afterwards.
hey, man,
It's just a blur.
I was just talking about that with T.O. He said, ask Donovan McNabb about that.
He didn't remember it. He's throwing up in the huddle.
Last one, Bull. Bull, you get the first stab at this.
Yeah.
Will the winning
Pull the
team
bull.
score at least 27 points?
track,
You
yeah.
said no, and you can tell us why. I also
Yeah,
said no.
which is funny
Yeah, because you said it would be.
I said there'd be more touchdowns than punts. I have a feeling early in the game there's going to be a lot of settling for field goals.
There often is.
And I think teams are now, especially the Eagles, and now these are both teams that both use analytics, that scary word, and they're both very aggressive fourth down teams.
They are.
However, in the Super Bowl, especially a rookie coach in the Super Bowl, which is the Eagles, they can be a little tight in the Super Bowl.
Unless
early.
you're Sean Payton and you come out and start the second half with an onside kick.
So I think we'll see some field goals early. There won't be a lot of punts, and then the touchdowns will come. I think the final score is going to be like weird, like 26-23 or some oddball score, just under the 27.
And who you picking? Go around the horn real quick.
I got the Chiefs.
Brad,
Eagles.
G,
Chiefs.
Jay.
Eagles.
So I'm the deciding factor. I am taking the Eagles as well. Speaking of the people,
How does a Giants fan pick the Eagles?
you know, it hurts. I think I fell into this trap when they played the Patriots. I was like, I can't pick against Tom Brady, even though I knew the Eagles were better. I don't feel good picking against Patrick Mahomes, but I do think overall the roster is better. Real quick, Brad, we got to get this in. This is sponsored. This is the results of Bull's Bet of the Day.
Oh, yeah.
Will you ride with Travis Kelce at plus 700 to score the first touchdown? 60% of the voters said yes. 40% said no. So
All right,
Bull,
very good.
the people are riding with you on the
Bet
first
Rivers,
go-around.
baby.
And we were
Let's go.
going to play this off the top of the show. Here's a little treat for y'all. Steve, take it.
Jay, I know you're a little offended by people that say you were pissed at LeBron yesterday, but it. All the 7 words. The FCC's been on my ass for 12 years. Them.
You know, I don't know how it's Adam the Bull and it's not the Angry Bull. I really don't. I don't know how that happened. And by the way,
had so much fun.
One thing I learned from today's show is
Yeah.
I knew that I already knew that you loved Adam Richman.
Yeah.
But I knew that by the time after we spent 30 minutes with him, just because I've known him for so many years,
Yeah.
that you were really gonna connect.
I hope
with
he
this
really
guy.
comes here and hangs with
He
us.
will.
That'd be
I'm
so
telling
much
you.
fun.
I'm telling you. We will get him here. I'll stay on it.
I mean, we grew up in the same area. He's a couple years younger than me.
You guys know the same people.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure
yeah,
you do.
yeah.
And when
From
they
your
start,
hometown.
when they
He's
started naming
awesome.
out their blocks, I'm from X block.
Between W and X. What the hell? It's only something
and
someone
then,
from
of course,
Brooklyn
the
would know.
pizzeria he mentions the place I've been to a million times.
It's so funny.
What
So
kind of gang
Spumoni Gardens, the
territory
place
is
he
that?
mentioned,
Yeah.
is a very famous place in like Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. I'm sure maybe you've heard of Bay Ridge.
Yeah.
Maybe you lived in the area.
I have.
But
I've not been there.
They serve pizza where the sauce is on the top. So it's crust,
Cheese.
cheese,
Sauce.
toppings, then sauce.
There's a couple places that do that.
That's
Maybe an
lasagna.
homage to them. But because I've had it like that before, but I've never been to Spumoni
Bull,
Gardens.
that's lasagna. You don't put no sauce on the side.
Guys, great week of shows. We will recap the Super
Thanks,
Bowl
everybody.
on Sunday. and
Enjoy the Super Bowl.
We're going to close out with Bull one more time.
Jay, I
See
know
ya.
you're a little offended by people that say you were pissed at LeBron yesterday, but it. All the 7 words. The FCC's been on my ass for 12 years. Them.